Hello and welcome to episode 242 of the Crate and Crowbar. It is the 14th of June 2018. My name is Chris Thurston and tonight I'm joined by Philippa Waugh.
Hello.
And Alex Wiltshire.
Good evening.
We've spent weeks thinking it was a week away from E3.
Did we?
Yeah, I did. And leveraging that into interminable news.
So I'm looking forward to E3. What are the,
About nothing.
What are you looking forward? What announcements are you looking forward to?
And then in the end, Alex, I didn't watch E3 at all.
Well, hang on. No, because E3 has been going on for 7 years now, has it not? Like, it's barely, without a break. We've not paused. It's just been conference after conference. No one's slept. No
Indeed.
one's had any
We've
respite.
had the Koch conference, the Deep Silver conference.
The Devolver conference. That actually did happen.
That did actually happen.
But also, yeah. Well, what I'm basically getting at is that we went through this sort of long thing of like, oh, well, there's no news, is there? Because they're all saving it for E3. And then there was a lot from E3. They announced a lot of computer games. So many, in fact, that I just sort of gave up.
There's hundreds. There's like
too many.
So many numbers. There were 4s, there were 5s. Don't think there were any
There were a lot.
6s.
There were sometimes like two different kinds of 5.
It was just like a weird all-you-can-eat trailer buffet. Yeah. And I just sort of ran out of... I can't. It was like being bamboozled by, like they just brought out a tray of shrimp and you're like, but what? I didn't factor shrimp in.
What way is it like that? I don't.
Right. No. You can't tell me you haven't done this. When you're like at an event that maybe has canapes.
Yeah.
Or, for example, an hors d'oeuvre.
Yeah.
Of some, a menu of some description. Why am I talking like this? I don't know. Anyway, but you sort of like, you do a little first round scoping out the situation. Maybe, check for duplicate waiters carrying duplicate items, right?
Yeah. I never do this.
What you want is the little,
this is something I don't do.
It's the little cheese pastry, but you don't want to be seen to be going back to the cheese pastry
But also, you let them do a little bit of ebbing and flowing and then you get a feel for, how many distinct hors d'oeuvres there might be.
It feels like
based on repetition over time.
Like scoping out a hitman party and figuring out guard rotations.
I love your attempts to make this relevant to E3, Alex.
But then, suddenly someone comes out with something that you'd never seen before and that wasn't duplicate and you hadn't factored in because you were like, okay, I'll have 3 of these and then I'll wait for that guy.
Can you explain the factoring?
It's like you didn't realise there was going to be a round of little pies. You
just have a pie. So, you have the cheap puffs. Then
okay,
you have
so
the
maybe
pie.
putting it in language that you would understand, it would be like someone springing a surprise dessert on you.
I just
so
think
you'd had
I'll
like
have
a
the dessert
whole
as well.
dinner, and then someone's like, "And now here is your dessert," and you didn't know it was coming, and you hadn't made room.
Can I? I don't want to correct the analogy here, but it's a bit like you've had your mains, right? You've had your pudding.
Yeah.
Then the mains come back.
Oh,
There's actually a very, very good John Shuttleworth song. John Shuttleworth is a kind of comedian who does sort of songs on a little kind of synthesizer. And it's called "I Can't Go Back to Savory Now," and it's quite a soulful song about a man having dinner with his family.
Point.
I think.
But how does he manage the cheese course?
It's not in there. It's not in there.
Interesting.
So, I'm going to step into my role here as like topic wrangler. I know exactly what you mean.
Thank you.
This E3, I think, was the one for me where I was like, oh, it's the same things again. Back to sleep for another year, and we will have a summer or whatever the plot of Groundhog Day is. Then winter will end is the thing, actually. What am I talking about now? Anyway.
That's not the plot of that film. The plot of that film is everything's happening again and again.
I know, but the groundhog.
Yeah.
Is that
I know what Groundhog
is. The Groundhog the games, or is Groundhog the EA?
It's coming from inside the industry.
Inside the Warren.
The groundhog is coming from inside the Warren.
Do groundhogs live in Warrens?
I don't know, and I'm so desperate to get this back to E3.
Look, I was expecting a certain amount of trailers, a certain amount of new games, and a certain amount of announcements that were passing themselves off as exciting and really, really
You
weren't,
gave one
right?
sheet of paper to this and you ran out of lines.
I assumed that there would be, you know, a certain distribution of content, and I was flummoxed.
So I wanted to approach E3 this year in a slightly different way, because I think in previous years on the pod we really have gone through it blow by blow and like gone by conference. And I realized I don't really have much to say about a lot of even entire conference lineups. Like everything Bethesda announced, I'm glad exists.
Yeah.
But I have nothing else to say about it other than that.
Yeah. Well,
it's like
it's because you know almost nothing about them.
You know nothing, but also in some ways like everything. Does that make sense? It's like
It's that.
Elder Scrolls 6. Oh,
Yeah.
it's that.
It's that.
You've shown us a mountain, Todd. That's.
I think we might better go up to it.
Yeah, we could talk for 10
Maybe
minutes
up it
about
as well.
what part of the world is it set in? Tom in our chat suggested that it might be set in High Rock because those rocks looked pretty high. Todd. But you know, who cares? So, and then, there's like, Wolfenstein, the Wolfenstein Youngblood, a co-op game starring BJ Blazkowicz's daughters in the 1980s.
I wrote those two down.
That looks really good, but I have nothing to say about it. What do you have to say about it?
I liked the idea that you would play co-op as two twin daughters. That seemed nice.
It does seem nice.
That's all I have to say about
Exactly,
it.
yeah.
There we go.
Doom Eternal. Great.
Yep.
I liked
It's on Earth.
Doom a lot, the new Doom. That was great.
On Earth.
Is it?
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
it is just an interactive metal album cover, right?
It is, and
Yeah.
that's absolutely
Yeah.
fine.
And
Great.
that's brilliant. Great.
Thanks, Mick.
I like Doom. Yeah.
Yeah, like
Next.
that. What else did they talk about? Fallout 76. All right. Yeah.
Okay, so
I feel like we can do our noise rating system for everything.
The thing that I really liked about Fallout 76 is that it then reminded me to look up the Mothman. Because it's
And
got
you don't want to forget to look up the Mothman, or he will find you.
Well, no, because like the most interesting thing there is that they were talking that someone mentioned at some point. I don't know. It's all melded into one thing. That it would involve West Virginian folklore specifically, and so and I just spent a lot of time on Wikipedia pages about cryptids and
Indeed.
ghosts.
Yeah.
So,
It's a rich source of the creepiest creepypasta.
But yeah, Mothman.
Why not? And why not? Let's see what else happened. Because
Should we just
Hang
sort
on,
of
where's your
pick out
list?
a game?
it's in my head. I think we need
Should we
to.
just pick out a game each?
Well, this is the thing. Like, this is what I think we
should.
should do. I think we should rattle through things we actually jumped out to us
Yeah.
from this E3, from anywhere, including the Mothman.
So we're not going to be exhaustive here.
We're not going to be exhaustive. If you want an exhaustive list of E3 things, go to any video game website and type /news at the end of the URL.
Yeah.
I'm sure we can find plenty of things to make jokes about. But yeah, let's actually dig out the things we actually did think were like, oh, good, that exists. Alex, what made you go, oh, good, that exists?
Well, I was excited by Sekiro: Shadows Die
Me
I
Twice.
wrote that down.
2.
And
I think that's 3 for 3
that's
on
3 for 3. So
Although it
that's
looks
the
like
front runner
Solero,
of
am I
the
right?
Great Crowbar
Solero.
Solero.
Let's
Shadows
play
Die
Solero.
Ice.
It is. Mangoes Die Twice.
Mangoes Diet Ice.
There you go, Walls. It's in your basket.
Tie-in. It's in your freezer now.
So this is from a new game from Software, makers of Dark and Soulens,
Yeah.
Dark Souls 2, Dark Souls 3,
And Blood Bonbon.
Blood Bonbon,
Blood bon bon bon.
and also they were the publishers of the Tenchu series way long time back, which was a stealth game about ninjas, and Sekiro seems to bridge those two series, really. They said, I saw an interview with one of the developers, and they said that that they were, while they were very much inspired by Tenchu, they didn't feel they could copy it because it wasn't actually their game. It was developed by someone else. So, but if you imagine Dark Souls, but with a very mobile character with a little grapple hook, and a jump. That's kind of the game that we've got here. So it's much more mobile, a bit more spry. You can get on top of rooftops and that kind of thing in the environments. So I very much liked the idea of something with the rich Dark Souls-y world building and careful combat, but all with a different little slant. The guy who you play
as well.
Quite cheery.
Well, as in, like, the colour palette was nicer for me. Like, that kind
it wasn't all
it
brown
makes
and
me
grey.
want to, like, play it more. Like, I would like to spend more time in that world than I've ever wanted to spend in Dark Souls.
It is
universe.
less Grimbo. Had a big fat guy. Massive, great big fat guy with a sword that he vomits on at the start.
It did, yes.
So, that's good.
Yeah, I'm kind of in it because it's set in like Sengoku era Japan, right? It's a feudal Japan. And I'm in it for the monster designs. As ever with From Software, really. I want the nice combat, the good combat, and I want the cool monster designs. And
I'm not sure there was a big wormy thing, but there wasn't a big focus on monsters.
Well, it's more like, it reminds me more of Bloodborne. It's more like monstrous people, if that makes sense. Like, Bloodborne's all about these kinds of like strange, weird Londoners, basically, whose tan is finished. And they are gangly and strange and sort of monstrous.
Not Edinburgh? Or have I made that up?
You made that up, yeah. Oh. It's definitely Yarnum.
I thought it was Sheffield.
Just a documentary about Sheffield. Sheffield's quite nice.
This is a very vivid documentary I've been playing.
They've renovated the bit outside the station.
Yeah. Yes, that's what happens when you pass into the other Yarnum. Spooky Moon Baby renovates train station. That's not what is the case here, is it? No, but there's a sort of uncanniness to it. There's an attention to detail and design about From Software's monster design or enemy design that I find super appealing.
Absolutely. And there's a nice little weird feature in it that your character has, one prosthetic arm, which is a skeletal thing, which transforms into certain tools. So that's how you get a grapple, because your skeletal hand comes off and grips across the level. I don't know.
Is that because, like, I think in the trailer I got the impression that he was somehow, like, being kept from death. There was some reason that he wasn't allowed to pass over just yet and was in this sort of functional immortality, but maybe had unfinished business of some kind, and that was quite an interesting. It's been done, but it was like the
death mechanic is quite cool, which presumably ties into that.
I've only watched the trailer.
When you get killed, you can spend a currency. I'm not really sure what the currencies are, but it'll be souls. But
apparently it doesn't have like leveling up or anything like that. So
no, the skeletal hand, you can equip with various tools. There's a big axe. There's like throwing firecrackers. I wrote some more down. I was looking down on my list. The grapple, firecrackers, and there's an umbrella. I like that.
Nice.
You see the umbrella?
That's a practical attachment.
Cool. I don't remember that.
And I think I think that provides the equivalent of kind of ability enhancing sort of thing.
Imagine if you forgot though, like you were going to go to grapple away out of a situation and just put up an umbrella and it was like, oh shit. This is really
I'm dry now.
embarrassing.
Stroke protected from the sun. Yeah. But the death mechanic is if you die, you can spend a currency to respawn right there and then, and you can choose when you do it. So if you're kind of swamped by enemies and you get killed, you can wait until they've all wandered off thinking you're dead before
and it's just a big old surprise at the wake.
I'm back. So if anything, that's serious, From Software has been doing some excellent work with respawn mechanics. And this looks like it's going to continue the form.
They seem like a studio that's got good things going on.
These boys are going somewhere.
And the setup is quite interesting. They described it as being a situation. So the game is quite easy to understand at the start. So you know where you are and where you're going at the start in the way that you don't in Dark Souls. But then it goes quite Dark Soulsy and lots of kind of details hidden away in kind of flavor text and things after that point. But you are some sort of retainer, some sort of protector of a young lord who gets captured and you are killed in trying to capture it, and you wake up with a skeletal hand.
As you do.
And no lord. You lost your lord.
Not a skeletal lord.
Lost a hand and his lord.
Yes, that's good. Yes, that looks good. I very much would also have put that on my list if it wasn't on everyone else's list. Pip, what's the game from your E3?
Man-Eater.
Man-Eater.
That's not the song I thought you were going to go for.
No, I was going to go for Nelly Furtado, but I also do not know how to sing that properly because I can't sing.
No. Anyway, Man-Eater. Tell us about Man-Eater.
So, it's a game. You play as a shark, and at that point I was like, I am sold. You do not need to say any more. This is brilliant. And then they kept talking. So it's essentially I believe they called it a shark PG because, why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Open world RPG where you, the shark, progress from being a young shark with dreams of killing every human and realize that dream through a series of upgrades.
I've got bigger teeth.
Yeah, you can do that. You can like do a tail whip attack. You can make people bleed by, really deep biting. You can, jump out of the sea or the water of whatever kind and, do a sort of jump over a pier and pick them up en route.
Like a dangerous reverse Free Willy, they call it.
I believe they have said that it's obviously not entirely factual, but you can't become a human. It's not like a reverse Little Mermaid power fantasy or something. But
I want to be where the people are so I can kill all of them.
Imagine though, it's so good. So there's that.
What do you call it? A gun?
And so I think I think whoever it was, Alex Quick, who was responsible for the initial Killing Floor mod. And it's his studio, and Tripwire are publishing it, which is quite a cute, everything comes around again kind of story. But yeah, and so I was just sat there going, I don't think this is entirely what I remember from Blue Planet, and maybe Shark PRs would have something to say, but it's brilliant, right? And I'm so here.
The Bull Shark marketing board is not down with this game.
Hammerheads are like, to leave us out of this. Yeah. We're not involved.
Dogfish, not into it.
But yeah, so it looked good. But also I really liked, because it was announced as part of the PC Gaming Show. And
well done, by the way.
It was all me. It was in no way me at all. But, I watched it. I watched that part of it. I've been deadlining, so it's like, oh my God. Anyway, so, but it was really cute because, on stage, the guy was just talking about it, and it was, because I think the trailer maybe misses an opportunity in some ways, because it doesn't 100% make it clear that you play as the shark.
Doesn't, does it? I thought that exactly. I thought, and it was,
But then it was after that when Day 9 was like, so you play as the shark? And he said yes, and everyone sort of started to get it and started to giggle, but in that way of oh my God, this is so much better than I thought that you'd just done. And the guy just sort of lit up, and I really liked that. That felt like a non-cynical moment, because you can get so caught up in the sort of, an exec announces a thing and you're like, I guess. Or you have to sit through a 30-second trailer that is just a logo and you're like, fine. But that was just quite a really nice, it was a nice human moment of, just, we've made this thing. What of it?
You could be the shark.
You are the shark.
You can earn bigger teeth by eating things. Fine. I'm there. Sign me up.
Great.
Were you excited for that one?
Yeah. I haven't seen that yet.
I thought the trailer was, kind of a little bit charmless because it didn't really get that across at all. And I assumed you could be the shark, but
assumed it was just some sort of like...
Because it's called man-eater, so you're unlikely to be the swimmer.
It felt like it was just some, like, kind of average, like, what's the zombie one where you're in a hotel at the beginning? There was like a trailer and, where you're in the hotel.
Oh, I know, yes. Like, Dead. It was by Techland, wasn't it?
Yeah, not Dead Rising. Dead
on the Island.
Dead Island. Dead Island.
Okay. But like, so I was kind of like, I was expecting it to be not that, because obviously the name doesn't fit, but I thought it would just be a bit sort of, oh, okay. But yeah, instantly you say, and you're the shark, and you've got this weird skill tree. And I'm like, fine, I'm there. That's mine. That was my game of the show.
It was the most in the ocean you could get at E3.
I mean, I have 2 more ocean-themed games as part of my...
I do not doubt it. I was pleasantly surprised, and I imagine a few other people would have been as well, by Assassin's Creed Odyssey. A game we made fun of only a week ago.
Ass odd.
That's an odd ass. Which, actually, I sort of, maybe I'm getting a bit more cynical about big AAA things, particularly open world games, which I know I'm not really going to play. But I'm actually kind of into this sort of very bright, sort of history light, island roaming RPG, which is what they made basically.
Yeah. They did say, they've said RPG a lot.
I meant that in that you have conversations and you can have sex with people. A Witcher like. Where you have it's an RPG by the modern definition, which is you have a boat full of NPCs that you talk to between every mission.
And you can do some canoodling.
Including some Socrates.
Yeah, you can both canoe and canoodle.
Ugh.
And philosophize. Is there a C word related to philosophy? No.
I don't think so. Let's not get... Yeah, contemplate.
Contemplate.
Yeah, is Socrates...
I was trying to help, because canoeing, canoodling, and canoodle-plating.
Indeed. What are we talking about? Socrates. He's in it. Your drunk mate Socrates.
Yeah.
He's there.
Of course he's there.
And you can be...
Of course he's fucking there.
Isn't he basically playing himself from Bill and Ted?
Yeah, pretty much. Yes, in the same way that it's in the fine Assassin's Creed tradition of, like in the best Assassin's Creed games, when they did like, what if Leonardo da Vinci was just Q from James Bond?
Making you a tank. Anybody want a helicopter?
It's the most fun that series has ever had with history, right? Is like, when you have to just kick the shit out of a pope. Because like, they'd run out of like, Italian Renaissance
they'd kill all of the aristocracy.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, to the Vatican.
Yeah, exactly.
I was trying to think whether Alexander would have been the Pope that I wanted to punch, and I think I would have preferred, like, landing one on Julius II.
Well, for that, you've got to get the Super Smash Brothers version of Assassin's Creed series.
He's in it.
Yeah, like
it's very exciting.
Yeah, and that's nice. And the fact that you have a choice of protagonists, you can be male or female, that's nice as well.
And they're not just sort of, here's the lady version of the man version.
Yeah, they're 2 separate characters. It's the Mass Effect Andromeda technique where I think they're both actual characters. It's just you pick which one you play.
Yeah.
Which is nice. Expect to see the other one killed in the opening cutscene, boys and girls. If not, the big battle scenes look cool where you take on a big champion who's always just a big man with a hammer. I like
the, so for me, I definitely still had the, no, Assassin's Creed, way into the trailer because it had lots of long tracking shots across environments that I could swear I've just been playing in Ass Oranges.
Yeah, there is an element of that.
And, it does feel, they're
both on the Mediterranean.
Yeah. Yeah, but I want different colours or different.
This one seems a lot more sort of bluey, greeny, yellow. Orange is overwhelming orange.
But it's like, there is a lot of Greeks living in the Egypt as oranges. So I think it was overly cynical. But then I started reading about it once people started playing, and the first thing that really just got me interested was the fact that some of the bosses, as you described, the big lads, they're in the world wandering around, and you get to, you can go and try and take them down at any time, but all you can do are a load of quests to level yourself up and weaken their defenses, which I thought that's exactly what I've wanted from Assassin's Creed since this first one, really.
The Shadow of Mordor-iness of it has some potential. If you're going to assassinate, let's use some skills in the open, in the field, rather than in the missions.
I think for me as well, it's been a while since they've had a setting that has interested me. I was primed to be more interested in Assassin's Creed 2 because my, education is in, ecclesiastical history and stuff like that. Whereas with this, I studied Greek at school. I was obsessed with Greek legends growing up, and I still read them, and there's a certain amount of just being not necessarily familiar with that specific time period, or, whatever they've done with it to make it fit their game or whatever. But I am genuinely interested more so than, Black Flag or, Rogue or, any of those, or the London one or the France one, just because it feels like it taps into a lot more of a place that I genuinely wanted to experience because I was so into the mythology of it.
I think, and also it's a world of lots of little islands, and you have a ship. That is a sign me up setting right there, because Zelda,
Wind Waker. What Wind Waker needed was just killing and shagging. Yeah.
Well, not enough. There isn't enough shagging in that game.
Yeah.
So one of the things that stuck out to me is how well they do that, the sea experience at this point, just in terms of how it looks, I think. Because one of the other things that I have on my list is, Skull and Bones, and it's for similar reasons. It's because I want to be there. I want to be on that boat looking at that water. It kind of, in a way, obviously they showed a bit more gameplay and I haven't got through all of that yet, but it does look interesting, and it has me more interested than Sea of Thieves did.
Yeah.
That was good water in Sea of Thieves though.
This is essentially it. I just want to look at water. But they both showcase that virtuosity that, the trailers, and I was kind of like, oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I played
I'm interested in both of you.
I saw and played Skull and Bones last year when I was at Ubisoft Singapore, because Ubisoft Singapore basically made their name within Ubisoft as the water people.
Yeah.
Basically, they got to do the water for Assassin's Creed 3 and then Black Flag, and then kind of got their own game with Skull and Bones, and they did all of the wateriest bits of Origins, and so presumably they've been busy on Odyssey as well.
Because it's Quebec, isn't it, the rest of it? But,
yeah.
Toronto.
It's Quebec for main Odyssey.
Mm-hmm.
Is it?
Yeah, that's the first studio
It is,
type.
Otherwise I'm going to have a heart attack about the proofreading that I've just sent to print.
That's Winchester.
Yeah, also Winchester. A lot of game journalists have been in the wrong part of Canada if it's...
It was like, Alex, you need to leave now. This isn't funny.
Froome.
Yeah. I hope Skull and Bones seeming to kind of delay a bit or retreat a bit is a sign that it's getting more invested in it.
Really, yeah, it's kind of
I thought it'd be up
nerve-wracking because the demo. I'm going to shut up because that's one of your games.
No. I mean, I thought it would be an interesting point to bring it into it because, I don't have that much else to say. It was just that it looked like the things I actually enjoyed from Black Flag, but without the trappings of the Assassin's Creed game that I tend to chafe against.
Yeah.
Because it's like, here's the element of this that you like, but you have to engage with every single thing that you don't like to get there.
Yeah.
And I always tap out at that point, whereas I'm hoping that this is my way to get
All boats, all the time.
Yeah, 100% boats. The thing
boats and not being desynchronized from reality if I choose to go down this street.
Yeah, although it's not like, so the thing I'm curious about it is, and maybe they did show more of this at the C3, but like, it's a multiplayer game first and foremost, and it's a 5-on-5 competitive multiplayer game first and foremost. And I really liked it in that format. The thing it made me think the most of is it felt like the first time I'd seen like not that Wargaming aren't a big publisher in their own way, but like it felt like the World of Tanks or World of Warships, most specifically, format done by Ubisoft. Very much in the same scope of game as For Honor, which is an expansion pack, or Rainbow Six Siege. Like in this like thin line of like a Ubisoft sort of thing nowadays for like really hyper specialized competitive multiplayer games, alongside super broad, please everybody, open world games, which seems to be their sort of, you know, and then Dancing and Rayman, like, like that sort of, distinction. And I'm really interested to see what they do with it in terms of the other parts of the experience. But I actually genuinely, like, I assumed when I was there almost a year ago, year minus 6 weeks. And it felt like, oh, this is probably out towards the end of this year then. So I'm surprised that it's still a kind of E3 preview sort of thing. I really was expecting to have seen it by now.
Something that I am hoping as well is that the setting and the fact that like, I'm hoping that it makes it an easier sell for getting the rest of the team together at various points to play it with me. Because I can imagine, you know, when you're trying to scrounge people together for a match in something that you really like and they don't really care for, that can be a real slog and you end up playing a lot on your own or with complete strangers or LFG stuff. But I'm hoping that everybody's core fantasy is obviously let's be pirates, but you know, like my version of a cartoon pirate where I just sing sea shanties and point at things. You know, I'm kind of hoping that that's not necessarily universal, but it's certainly shared widely enough that I will never have a problem crewing a ship.
Yeah. Everyone is a ship in Skull and Bones.
Look, I've not watched the gameplay trailer or read anything about it. It had good water and it looked like it had complicated decorations I could really buy into. But someone mentioned a cannon. Brilliant. I'm there.
Very, very spiky tiller thing.
Yeah. So, yeah, but to clarify, the big difference between it and something like both Black Flag and Sea of Thieves is you are not a person, you are a boat. And your friends are different boats.
But you can use you can like, raise sails.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
things,
you do.
You can, use the like telescope and stuff. So you do get elements of playing as.
Yeah, but it's like, those are all abilities that you have on the boat. Right. Yeah, like you have your little customizable pirate captain who's holding the wheel and shouting.
I think that's where I got confused because I could see, like as part of the thing, it showed, people looking through telescopes.
The crew is very dynamic and they sing and they shout to each other, but that's based on you are controlling the boat.
Okay.
So if you press the increase speed button, you'll hear someone shout to someone else like, full sail!
That's what they do in,
I'm Bane.
What they do in all of them. Yeah.
Or something. Bane is there. Why? We don't know.
That's the same as it. This is the problem for me, that it doesn't look sufficiently different to what I've kind of gotten a bit tired of in Black Flag. And,
the difference really is multiplayer, like the fact that it's designed for,
that is the difference.
I never got on with Black Flag because they showed me the nice bit at a preview event, and then they also showed me like where you have to stop someone from ringing a bell, and I just, felt I wanted to go back to the ship, and I wanted to.
I don't want to be Stabby Jimmy anymore.
Yeah, I was just, let him ring his bell. I don't care. I'm going to take to the sea. Leave it.
What else is on your E3 list?
Sable.
Mine too.
Sable. Oh, you and me.
All of us. And me. Always.
Oh yeah, that's all.
And forever. Why did you like Sable? Because I like Sable a great deal because of its Mobius-inspired art.
Moving Mobius.
Yeah.
This is a game
Mobius.
by a new London-based studio called Shedworks.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they both are, but one of them is definitely a graduate of the Bartlett School of Architecture. So it comes with a certain sort of interesting sensibility. But most of all, it looks like
Do you know
Moebius.
what their name is? No, it's just interesting because I sometimes go to the Bartlett graduate show because it is fascinating and really cool. And sometimes people, I believe, have gone on to exhibit as part of the architecture room in the Royal Academy Summer Show. And that, there's been some amazing stuff coming out of there. So I just wondered if it was someone that
He's almost certainly done stuff for that. But yeah, Sable is, well, I mean, honestly, it looks a fairly familiar game, like in terms of what you do. It's an sort of open worldy, you're in a desert, you're a little, scavengery, skull-faced little person with a nice cloak and things, or skull helmeted or something. You have an amazing looking hoverbike thing, which has got very cool sort of little bits that stick out and leaves a wonderful sort of plume of dust behind you, and it looks absolutely wonderful. And you're going between ruins and that kind of thing, and then there's a lot of
big
climbing on things,
dusty doors
Zelda doors opening,
kind of thing,
and some puzzles and some temples and things.
The woman who has the portions.
Rey, Star Wars.
Okay, good.
Don't worry, I can do this now. The Pip to Star Wars translator. I was about to mention the same thing. Like, it has sort of derelict desert landscape hoverbike kind of thing to it.
But it's like Journey and Ico and
Wind Waker.
Shadow of the Colossus and Wind Waker.
Did
those
you see
kind
who's
of
writing
games.
it?
Yes.
Meg
Janth.
Janth.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like automatically even more excited for
Meg
it.
Janth was one of the co-writers on 80 Days.
She was the lead writer.
Okay, I
do believe.
Interesting. And then
It was her and John Ingold, wasn't it?
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it looks gorgeous.
Yeah,
From such a
definitely,
small studio, but it's, profoundly cell shaded in the very finest of ways. And, I'm very excited about that one.
I think that was the one that people forwarded me, because like I say, I was properly face first into the proofing bits of getting the magazine to print, and so I largely ignored E3 until today, actually, where I was catching up on everything. But Sable was the one that people had actively flagged up to me in chat saying, I think this will be your kind of thing.
Yeah.
As soon as he saw it, Joe, our newswriter, was, just in, Slack being, hello, this thing looked up your alley. I was like, yes, it is.
It's definitely one of the most obviously sort of like, oh, look at that kind of moments of the show.
It was really arresting.
And it's like, beyond that kind of the rendering style, there's a real sort of distinctive feel to the kind of incidental, the scene setting, like some of the shapes of architecture and shapes of things around are interesting, right? Beguiling looking, detailed as well, considering the kind of the flat sort of shading.
Yeah, genuinely lovely. Is there a word for this? It feels like a genre now of games where you play as a sort of anonymous character in a cloak in a sort of fantasy world that's a little bit Zelda, but also a little bit sort of neon 80s cyberpunk. And you encounter these big stone temples or big stone constructs where little veins in them, like ley lines, light up with pinkish blue energy.
And lots of kind of geometric shapes kind of unfurl.
Yeah, I'm thinking Hyperlight Drifter, elements of Sword and Sorcery, like those Capybara games go in this direction a little bit. Now Below. Like this is a genre. Like there's a style. Obviously, a Sable has its influences that are sort of in a slightly different direction, but it still fits for me. This sort of very specific sort of sci-fi fantasy thing.
It's in
like a sort of like a kind of comic book Dune
Yeah.
sort of thing, and yeah, maybe it's just the same sort of indie brainwave.
Maybe we can, if anybody has a good name for this genre, write in.
Yeah. I'm going to go with Bright Souls.
I see.
For me, it's the neon colours kind of shining out,
it is.
Geometric kind of
It's stonework.
ancient stones. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there's a few puzzle games that would fall into that as
Tomb
well.
Raver.
Wow.
That's not bad. That is not bad.
Yeah, okay. We'll give your suggestions on the back of an envelope.
Workshop that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that was good. What else is on your list?
So I'm going to just offer us a short break from the extended trailer things to say, so I watched the Halo Infinity trailer and all it made me think was, I wish there was a Stargate game. Because, it's a lot of whiffle. It's a lot of, this is possibly a nature documentary. Oh wait, no, it's Halo.
Yeah.
You know? And by that point, I was a bit
Ooh,
like...
that's a hench deer. That doesn't appear to be Earth.
But then, obviously they have their little, the thing that looks like the Stargate. I don't know anything
Halo
about
ring.
Halo, so I don't,
Yeah.
But I would genuinely love something that was based on either the TV series, which was very good, or the movie and thus had a Jim Henson element to it. But yeah, that was just a passing observation that I apparently wrote down.
I feel quite ashamed of myself about the Halo thing because I was all kind of like, yep.
And then did it get you?
then
And
the
then you
fucking
pre-ordered
music,
it.
the music came in like that.
You saying
music,
that has made the hairs the back of my neck stand up.
it's just,
The
like,
ba-ba-ba-ba.
it's actually the
Before
ding, ding.
yeah, God, they're so good at this.
and it's like, oh damn it.
Yeah.
Oh damn it. A tear, a solitary tear rolls down my eyes.
Like,
my eye.
yeah, God, it's, a lot of this stuff appeals to nostalgia, and you can be nostalgic for Halo 1 now, definitely.
Yeah.
And so that sort of reveal of like, he's holding his helmet. It's Master Chief.
Yeah.
It's Master Chief, but where is he? Oh, he's on a big Halo.
It's John Halo. It's him. It's him. He's a soulful character, except for
and
he doesn't have a character.
He plugs he plugs Cortana into the back of his head again.
The
Restoring
naked lady goes in his head.
The best on and off again romance story since Ross and Rachel from Friends. It's John 117 and Cortana, the naked robot woman, AI lady. She lives in his brain.
I don't know. I think you got quite invested in Gary and Charlotte from George
I did
Shore.
as well. Okay, third best. I don't know. Second best. I don't know. I feel more sympathy for Master Chief on the whole. There's, no, it's great, and it is pure nostalgia, but you're right, that music, they're so fucking good. The Destiny does this to me as well. Like, Destiny for all its highs and lows, and I kind of want to talk about the Destiny 2 stuff they've revealed when next time Tom Senior's on the podcast, because we're the sort of two most active
I see.
Desto chum.
Desto men. But you didn't play the second one.
No, but I've still watched things.
Hey, I updated Halo 2, Destiny 2 the other day, but didn't get around to actually playing it because it took so long.
Yeah.
I watched that trailer that was sad.
Oh, that's...
And I tuned into approx half of the thing where they were talking about the new raid, and that sounded good.
You skipped so much of the valuable lore.
Did the robot man
But this
die?
happened with
He probably
Destiny
does as well.
Uno.
And like, it's the Prince of Crows. He's there. He shot him with a gun. It's bad. Anyway.
Is that what the Awoken thing was?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
The
Brilliant.
Prince of Crows.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, oh,
Aldrin.
come on.
I
that
love
name.
this stuff. You know I love this
Oh, yeah,
stuff.
I know you do,
Do
but
the
like,
Crows know that he's the Prince of Crows?
The Crows are like a spy organization.
did they vote him in?
That's not how princes work. Like, it's not like you get voted.
He was the master of the Crows. I can't remember exactly what the law bollocks is. He's Prince Aldrin.
Well, then
I know
what's
that
the
much.
point?
But there's no crows. There's no crows in this world.
There is. They're a spy network. They're not
got-
literal crows.
Do they know what actual crows are, though?
That's from Game of Thrones. They're stolen.
It is. But it's all stolen. That's
Was
what I
it
like.
a crunchy crow or something? The Game of Thrones.
Crunchy crows.
They quit.
A dance
Actually,
of crows.
the crows all.
Feast of crow.
Okay.
What? Let's all eat crow. Crow, anyone?
That's the name of the book, right?
Yeah, it was,
So,
yeah.
It's a
yeah.
subtitle.
I've never thought about the title before, and now I'm realizing what the hell is going on with that title. A feast for crows. It's about corpses. It's not a feast of crows.
No, that's why I couldn't remember.
Tasty crows. Big old mouthful of crows.
Sorry, everybody.
I was going to say, this is actual real Destiny lore. In real Destiny lore, the Crow spy network, leave the reef, because there was too much, there's too much, the space reef in the asteroid belt, because there was fundamentally too much of a random element in Destiny 1's loot table. It was 2 RNG for crows.
Oh no!
That was good. That was a good setup.
Oh wow.
Nice reveal.
I am so sorry to any listener who doesn't have a background in Cura's marketing. Wow.
Chris is just absolutely delighted. He's at dancing before the microphone.
That I can't.
Oh, I'm done.
Right now. Yeah, the other thing that I just wanted to sort of quickly acknowledge in some fashion was Unravel 2, just because I didn't enjoy the first one, which is, the Yarny, the little stringman.
I am the Stringman with the staring eyes.
What's that from?
That's Yarny's voice.
Oh. Maybe just as well he doesn't use it in the game.
In Marsh Davies' acting debut.
He got, focus tested out.
But I kind of, because the actual platforming I found not as good as it, it lacked that sort of, that final crunchiness that you need or the smoothness, whichever peanut butter
crunchy
type
or smooth.
you need.
Which are you going to go for?
Yeah, well,
you mean a little bit of resistance
Jessica.
And a little bit of smooth parabolariness.
Yeah, like it hadn't quite hit the mark with whatever it was, so it didn't feel perfect to play. But also, and it had this overlay of cloying kind of. And it was so earnest, and that's so sweet, and I don't want to piss on their strawberries, but it's very much a kind of, I couldn't... What? Is that not
piss
a
on
phrase?
their strawberries.
That's a phrase.
It's a good phrase.
It's just gentrified chips.
It's definitely a phrase.
Sorry, did I whittle in your punnet? I'm from Canterbury.
We had strawberry fields out there. You could go and pick your own.
Did anyone piss on them?
And sometimes it's been a long day. You've had a lot of Kiora.
Who would that serve?
Well, I don't know. You're the one going on about pissing on strawberries.
No war but class war, Pip.
Anyway, so the game about the strawberry I don't know what I was talking about. What was I talking about?
You felt that you didn't really like Yarny 1, but for somehow Yarny 2 is right up your street.
So one of the things that it did that I had a real problem with was the actual cloyingness of the earnestness and the sort of the desperate.
There was an element. There was an element of
it really over-egged the emotional arc of the thing, and I just found it really uncomfortable towards the end. But the point that I wanted to make about this was because Yarny 2, the Yarnaning or whatever it is, Unravel 2 looks, it's got 2-player co-op. And so I wonder whether being able to sit with a friend who is, on your wavelength and maybe willing to drop Yarny down a hole every now and again and laugh about it because you're both awful, might be a way. No, but it might genuinely be a way.
It's far less lonely to torture the Stringman in Yarny 2.
You can both, what you're saying is you can both jeer your way through like a very
Fuck
touching
you, Yarny.
cutscene.
You all agree.
No, but I do think that could be a way of redressing that tonal balance a little bit, because
you could just have someone sitting next to you as you played Yarny 1 and jeer.
No, I'd just go out. Why would you not just go down the pub at that point? But I feel like a monster because do you remember when the guy was talking about the first Unravel and he was so nervous and my heart really went out to him, and it was and I'm always so reluctant to talk about not liking that game.
That's emotional blackmail right there.
Yeah, you don't like the thing is like,
no, but you know what I mean.
That was one of those E3 moments that was very sweet but is very easy to take the piss out of at the same time, and you're almost not taking piss out of the man at that point, because it was one of those like this is not the right time for this game.
Yeah.
Like, and that's not to say that
And
these
yeah,
kinds of
and then
games shouldn't.
Yarny 2 also got
Yeah.
onto Microsoft's day.
Yeah, I think it was E3, the first one, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
Yeah, and like, EA, and there's always this,
EA.
like tone clash that is so jarring at E3, particularly when it goes from like
Football. American football.
Yeah, like here's 3 Gears of War games, and here's my game. I'm very nervous because I genuinely made this. I'm not just a spokesperson for the company, and I made
Also,
it. And
sorry,
it's actually
it's
about
out already.
and it's about me. I'm sorry for the yarn man. Ah, like that distinction is so abrupt that it doesn't do anyone any favors, right? It makes Gears of War look like a crass kind of like obtuse bully taking the air out of the room that belongs to the yarn man.
On that note, Funko Pop.
The worst thing. It happened.
What's this?
Oh, did you not see this? This was
So I didn't watch the conferences. I literally went down the list of trailers and just absorbed those. So I have no context for any of this.
You have to sort of experience.
But yeah, Chris,
so I did watch
playing
bits and
Unravel
bobs.
2 together.
Okay, good. I did watch bits and bobs of them. I didn't watch all of them. I just checked in when they happened to be on, and I happened to be free. But I did catch this, and it was almost the first part of E3 I saw. And Microsoft, by all accounts, had quite a good conference in that they announced a lot of games. And were genuinely kind of personal about it, and they didn't hugely fuck up in any obvious way.
It was fine. Very smoothly.
Exactly.
I am still waiting for my personal apology for Windows 10 and what it keeps doing.
You know, they didn't lapse into talking about television for half an hour. You know, I mean, all of the kind of traditional kind of Microsoft things, and it wasn't too like.
Yeah, and they were sort of like, you know, we've bought some studios. That's good.
Yeah, they were more obviously like a company, like we just acquired a lot of people. Anyway, the Gears thing, everyone's super excited about Gears of War 5. I'm a big Gears of War apologist.
I liked
same as
Gears
Halo.
of War 4, but couldn't quite understand why so much money had been put into it.
I didn't write any of this down. It's not on my list.
And Gears 5 is something people were expecting to see, you know, it's whatever. And this is almost like, this is a dangerous move when you're Microsoft, I think. To do this, to reveal the worst thing. Prior to, because you remember, was it at EA's conference that they fucked up Command & Conquer quite as badly as they did?
I didn't see that one.
So that trailer is so this is maybe the counterpart. Everyone gets excited. They're announcing a Command & Conquer game. It's been long enough that we're excited about this. And there's, you know, big CGI graphics and things, and then it kind of pans out until it reveals, oh, this is a Clash game. This is a mobile Clash game. Oh no. And so you can feel it sort of mounting like, oh dear. And it's almost like the excitement is moving in one direction.
Do you remember the announcement of Artifact at the International?
Yeah, although yes, I do.
Is it similar levels of people
far worse,
being upset?
far worse.
Okay.
Far worse. Like, Artifact wasn't a sequel to something. Like, Artifact wasn't like, this beloved thing is returning.
But it was, in a similar sort of emotional investment, people were like, hang on, is Valve making a new game?
Yeah, I guess there was that. But Valve have a separate issue, which is when Valve announce anything, if it's not Half-Life 3, people go, oh. And there's an element of card game fatigue, but whatever. Like,
this is kind of like laser guided sort of like disappointment generator.
Yeah, this is like like.
You are specifically hoping for Command & Conquer. What number are we on? Who knows?
Yeah.
And
we all loved our childhood dog Billy, didn't we? Guess what? We found his body! Like, that's the level of setup and delivery that they achieved. That they achieved.
Well, so for Gears of War, they announced
that was Command & Conquer. And so, and when you're EA and you're having an okay conference, that's a bit of a flub because you're not bouncing back from it. Microsoft conference, they go in like, oh, Gears of War symbol. Rumble of guns, but what's this? It's a Funko Pop Marcus Phoenix.
What?
I know, and even just saying that, the bile rises. And then they revealed a mobile action Funko Pop game for Gears of War. And
I did think it, and I thought that is it, isn't it?
They've killed it.
That's it.
And you knew it was bad because Microsoft often have the most aggressive.
It's also for Windows Phone only.
Yeah.
It's not for Windows Phone.
I was just trying to remember what Windows phones there are, because I've lost track of the telephone
I'm not sure it
market.
exists anymore. But it is the way that burst through the wall as well. And I already, the way
in an
the
echo
wall
of
looked,
Clifford B.
It wasn't
so many years ago.
Something's wrong. And this is after having visited Bath's sort of stumbling comic shop, which is now half Funko Pop, like literally half. It has 2 aisles with, one divider in the middle on,
we can take this offline.
Yeah.
We'll take this offline.
It's
It's going to be in the show notes.
meeting that we're having.
Oh my god, I've slipped back into marketing speak. This is so upsetting.
It's E3.
It's because you're talking about Microsoft.
Yeah.
Literally half the shop is now just a wall of Funko Pop boxes. And so to see it invade actual games as opposed to games invade it is deeply distressing.
Yeah. So they revealed that, and you can tell Microsoft usually have the most aggressive whoop men. Like, they are there in
They have
force.
like 5 kind of cohorts of them.
Yeah. Like, yeah.
Is there a test as you go in? It's like, how loud can you
Yeah.
whoop?
Oh, you're at the back. Sorry.
You're allowed to.
You're English? Okay, at the back.
Yeah.
In fact, we're not getting in. In fact, it was the Microsoft conference where a lot of people were still in the queue when it started.
Okay.
Yeah, because they moved it to the Microsoft Theatre downtown. Not a good idea. Anyway, and then after that, they revealed Gears Tactics, an XCOM style Gears of War game, which is a very good idea. Very good use of that setting.
It fits very well.
The enemy types and vocabulary of Gears.
That's what you play in Gears anyway.
Yeah, map very well to XCOM. Good job. And so that was like an escalation. I'm like, oh, okay, so it's not just the Funko Pop thing. And then they revealed Gears 5. And that takes a lot of confidence if you are Microsoft. And because the expectations of you are so low that like people will believe, oh, they've just done
But what
Funko Phoenix.
What order would you have done it in out of genuine
it's
I
interesting,
wouldn't,
isn't it?
I would have, gone Gears 5, Gears Tactics, and not bothered announcing the Funko Pop thing.
But I wonder whether
I think,
this
but
Funko
don't forget
Pop-
this thing. It's an investor event as much as it's anything
That's
else.
true. That's
But
true.
also, Funko Pop, although I cannot stand them, genuinely can't stand them, there's something about the shapes of them that really freaks me out. It's kind of a similar feeling that I get to when I used to log into World of Warcraft. There's something about that rounded, it really sets my aesthetic nerves jangling. So I can't have...
Really pisses on your strawberries.
I will not have Funko Pops in the house. They can go in the same cupboard as the weird haunted mask. Anyway, but it's something that, as you're saying with the comic shop, people do absolutely invest in and buy and collect and have to set limits on their own spending for. And so I totally get that you would think that's a great announcement. It might be that every single person who is attending E3, either as a games journalist or in some other capacity, is not your target audience with that. That is entirely possible. Or, who is on Twitter snarking about it or whatever. But there is gonna be a whole subreddit that is absolutely losing it over
I
this
totally
stuff,
agree.
right? And bookmarking everything and being so...
And on that basis, like putting it last would have been probably a mistake. And I think it was probably I think that it's a bit of fun trolling by Microsoft.
Yeah, that's
which
true.
they did deliver
It got
on.
us talking, didn't it?
It did.
Hate that line of argument.
We're doing it
What I
well.
would suggest,
I mean, it
think,
got people talking, but not to the extent that it penetrated my brain
think-
until this point.
I think I
Your
would
deadline
have,
bubble.
I think I would probably have, it kind of worked out this way anyway, but like I would have thought of it, and I guess we're just doing conference design now, but like doing it as a sort of a segment, like here's the Gears segment. We open with a bit of a teaser for 5 so people know what they're getting and they're super excited.
Yeah,
then you
probably.
reveal all 3 games in like some kind of montage.
Yeah.
And then you have people from each studio come on to introduce their own part of Mega Gears. And maybe you go then with Gears 5 last at the end, having put it at the start and the end. So it sort of bookends it in a sort of legitimacy granting way. Because the way they did it gave the sense that they put Funko Pop out to die first. Like, you're right, it's an eye-catching fake out, but that explicitly positions that game as the thing people don't want. In order for that bit to have its arc, It almost needs to open with like...
But like Pip said, I think that there would be a sizable number of people. I think a lot of the whoops were genuine because people are awful.
Wow.
Let's just leave it there. What else is on your list, Pip?
So what else is on my list? Let me just see. I wanted to say that I thought that the prize for the worst trailer should go to The Quiet Man. And I know that this is like a positive space, but I just like, this is
basically just bitched about things apart from the narrow band of games we liked for about an hour. So,
but it was because it's not even about the game at that point, because I had no real sense of what the game was. It just felt like a bad trailer.
It was the worst trailer.
It was a really bad trailer that didn't tell me anything. It didn't make me interested, and it made me actively think, well, there's a game that I don't need to be involved with or keep up with.
I think it's worse than simply not telling you what the game is and not giving you interest. It actively looked shit. Like there was live action, which I don't know. Like I think that it's a pretty safe and absolutely universal piece of advice is don't put live action stuff into a game trailer because it looks shit. It doesn't live up to the game and it probably costs you a shitload of money. Like what the fuck?
Yes, Bethesda.
Did they do it?
They always do it.
They do, don't they? But they probably do it nicely. Anyway, so it's maybe not universal. So anyway,
I just wanted to sort of like, if you're ever looking for what not to do and you're making an E3 trailer, you know,
But yeah, I just, it's one of those trailers where you think, so many people must have seen this. How many people like sat on their hands and said, oh, I don't think that we should put this out. And what does that say about the kind of the command structure of Square Enix?
Yeah.
I don't know. Because obviously I have no sense of what the game is from that. So I can't, you know, I have no sense of whether this was a good thing for the game that it's trying, you know, there is no way of even judging it. So all I'm judging it on is whether it seemed like a good use of that time, and it did not.
And there's also another little, they used silence because what you can glean from it is that you are a hearing impaired, punchy man going to punch. Like, this guy is a white emo kid, right? And he basically fights some sort of like Latino style gangbangers, and it's like, fucking hell, like this feels definitely dodgy on the scale of kind of,
it felt
representation
tropey in all the worst ways, in ways like it felt like a throwback from a conference 10 years ago.
Yeah, it really did. It
felt
how do we instantly mark some people as being bad? I know, let's give them a skin color and some tattoos.
It felt so out of step with the world, right? But anyway, so that was just an observation as I was mainlining all of these trailers.
They used silence, like, so basically you also think your speakers have stopped working because suddenly like it's sort of like boom, 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 and then silence, which is trying to communicate that he's unable to hear, but like...
Did they coincide the sound dropping out with when they put silence on the screen in big letters though? Because that might just be on you not looking at the screen at that moment.
Probably.
But yeah, so moving to sort of like happier things, would you like me to just blitz through the thoughts that I had? Because I wrote down a lot of games, but I don't necessarily
Let's just pick out the ones that, because I've got thoughts about things as well. We can have a conversation.
Cool. In that case, I'll just run through the things. So Forza Horizon 4, I was really excited to see it set in the UK, just even because, I mean, you know, even though these are the exact same people that I would be shouting out of my window about being hooligans.
Bloody kids.
You know, like, this is a 30-mile-an-hour zone!
This is Canterbury!
What are you doing? Why?
Get out of my strawberry field!
But, you know, that kind of... it was really nice seeing something other than, America. And I get that a lot. I had that feeling, that exact same feeling with...
or Australia.
Well, yeah, I mean, I know that they've done other, but it's in that case, to rephrase for what I actually mean with the sentiment, it's so rare to see a glimpse of the UK in a game and it feel like that's a place I recognise as the UK. and we will probably get onto this at some point, but I've walked in to see you playing Vampire, and I do not recognise London in anything I have seen on screen.
Get this somewhat with like the Bizarre Creations racing games, like Proper Street Racer.
They were very good at cities.
Yeah, very good at local cities as well, because the UK had this.
Yeah, they had a brilliant one in, I don't remember which game it was. It might have been Blur, actually.
Was it Blur? Yeah, Blur was one I was thinking of it.
It was like, you could race around Brighton up and down the road, along the seafront, and they had an amazing one just going through Hackney, and it was all sodium lit, sort of nighttime London streets. Like that is London. That's London in my heart.
Because it's that thing of, like I was saying, I got it with Everybody's Gone to the Rapture. It was just that feeling of seeing, those little, they're almost T-shaped concrete markers with yellow and black writing on them. And they are the UK version of like those fire hydrant markers. But I have never seen them in a game before, and it's such a little thing perhaps, but just the accretion of all of those little markers that positioned this as a game set in the UK, but made by people who understood which parts of that were then necessary to capture and record in this environment.
That's cool.
And
you can smash up dry stone walls.
So yeah, that was just kind of a nice thing to see, and I'll be interested to see how it develops, and the idea of just seasons.
Well, it's Forza Horizon, so it'll be really good. I don't think there's any particular kind of. It would be bizarre if it was.
No, but it would be interesting to see if it was. Whether you suddenly get to do handbrake turns in Mackie D's car park in a Fiat Punto.
Now we're talking.
But you know what I mean. It's kind of like how basically, so it looks like there were a lot of elements that I was excited about in terms of the actual landscapes that you would be driving through that I recognised as parts of the UK that I'd been to. But in terms of the actual driving experience, I'm assuming they're not going to accurately capture dealing with a one-way system or a bunch of roundabouts one after another, or having to beep as you go. Having to beep as you go round one of the corners in sort of just outside Whitstable so that people hear you coming. Or like pull into a hedge so a tractor can go past. I grew up in the countryside.
I know. You made it abundantly clear. What else is on the list, Pip? Let's rock through them.
Okay, cool. Devil May Cry 5. That looked fun.
Yeah.
So, if this is the next Devil May Cry game, can someone allow me, Chris, to make DMC2? Just putting it out there. If you're listening to me, you're owned by Microsoft now.
It just looked quite fun.
Yeah. Oh, I know. And I like Devil May Cry. I like the whole series.
Devil May Cry has a tendency to underwhelm on first kind of look, other than the very first games. Like DMC, like a lot of people, oh dear, oh god, look at that annoying little kid you play as, and then smashed it out. That was great.
Oh yeah, so I am the only person in the world who's a bit disappointed that this isn't DMC2.
No, I was as well, because as soon as I saw the main character, do we know who it is? Is it Dante?
I don't know, because he
doesn't look like Dante.
It looks like Dante shows up at the end of the trailer. That's the thing.
That's true.
Unless it's Nero, I don't know.
I'm not familiar enough with the series that I can tell,
it's quite hard to tell the difference between Dante and Nero, a post-art redesign.
But the quips weren't sharp, not like I hope.
I think it's I wasn't necessarily expecting it, because like I say, I'm not familiar enough with the series, and so to me it was it just looked like a thing that wasn't taking itself too seriously and could be fun, right? And that had some of that same DNA as Bayonetta, right? And I was just okay, cool. I will give that a go.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, I think this is the thing, right? So for me, that series had its perfect, I know that people didn't like DMC, but, that series had its sort of thing in that, it split after DMC 3. That team went off and made Bayonetta and escalated in that direction. And Devil May Cry became sort of, Ninja Theory's DMC. And that was a different evolution for it, like a stylistic evolution rather than a pure kind of just...
That one seemed
But there was
smarter.
there was
for
Devil May
what
Cry
they could-
4,
yeah.
which was
I'm talking about DMC.
that was sort of
Yeah.
not that long before DMC.
That's true. And Devil May Cry 4 was a strange game, the playing it
was.
forwards and backwards thing. Like, yeah, I don't know. Basically, I was sort of left with a bit of a, it wasn't like, I think also partly the sort of, we know what the fans asked for got my back up a little bit because I'm a big, like, defender of what
I wrote quite a lot of fan fiction, and I was on the forums.
I
I was
something in the last
asking,
couple of months about how much I like DMC. So yeah, like I think, although I'm happy for Ninja Theory that hopefully they'll go off to do increasingly cool things.
Yeah.
They have Microsoft
bought
securing them, so that's good.
Well, or they are asked to do something extraordinarily ambitious that never gets done, and then they're sold or just dissolved.
Oh, it's a bit close to the bone of truth.
I think again, this is maybe the thing where, because I didn't watch them in the context of whatever conference it was, then I only saw, oh, that's a trailer that's quite nice, right? And whereas you've got this, the whole context of the fans asked for, and, you know, like, there's more to...
Yeah.
It's okay to like it, it's fine. And I like it as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I thought it was a fun trailer, but it was
I
like...
think, it's more that it's interesting to me how different the experience of that framing is, rather than just going down the list. In terms of the other stuff that I was super excited by, Neocab looked really good. That was the cyberpunk Uber thing where you have to sort of somehow regulate your emotions while driving people around and doing like that gig economy.
That is the reverse of the actual experience of getting an Uber. Maybe it is like this for both people. Maybe this is expanding my understanding. I assume the experience of getting an Uber or a cab is of regulating your responses to what the person in the front seat is saying.
Oh god, yeah.
In such a way as to facilitate a smooth and productive journey for everybody.
I must have told you. Did I tell you about the Uber that I had in, I think it was San Francisco?
No.
I think it would have been at GDC, so yeah. Because a friend had got the cab because I don't actually use Uber, but, and the guy sat there and he just suddenly announced, I'm post-life. And we all just tried to work out what he meant by this. And he just meant he was a bit fed up. But it was such a San Francisco way of saying it, of conceptualizing this thing of
Ghost
like he's just
Uber.
a little bit over it. And we were just kind of like, are you a zombie? Like, what are you talking about?
You responded?
It
Or was it all in your kind of like looks
so
between
you
each
could
other?
sort of, there was definitely
Deliver
we
ghoul.
all met each other's gaze to try and figure out what we
You
were
should
going
have
to
just
do.
said, just to be clear, when we're getting in the car, we're English and we don't really like talking to taxi drivers.
But also, yeah, and so like each of us seemed to just gradually try and unpick what this guy was on about and try to get to the bottom of what post-life meant at all. But yeah, so that was my experience of Uber, but this seems to be a very different sort of opposite, yes, as you say. But it looks amazing as well. Like, it's very sort of cartoony, cyberpunky, like, looking.
Speaking of cyberpunk, we should address the 77 elephants in the room and talk about
What?
cyberpunk.
2077.
The Witcher 4.
That exact... Yeah. So this has been like behind closed doors shown to press.
It was just a video, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean,
It was a good video. It was a good video. It was like watching, I want to annoy everybody by saying Netrunner art, come to life. But people seem very wowed by it. It seems to be the game that people are walking away from E3 going, stop making your games, idiots. It's this game now is the only one that matters, which is a take that will probably be rolled back at some point when it turns out to be a video game. But,
Yeah.
I'll play that.
Yeah.
It's a first-person shooter. That was the thing that surprised everybody.
Yeah. And lots of skills, many different skills, wall jumping and doodadding and looking at you watching and just having a sit down thing.
Snow crashing.
Yeah, snow crashing.
Neuromancing.
All the cyberpunk verbs.
Yeah, exactly. Pond smithing. That's quite...
Is that a deep cut that I don't
No,
get?
not a deeper cut. Mike Pondsmith created the cyberpunk setting. So,
Okay.
let's going to explain the joke.
I thought it was just someone who
dead
made
now.
ponds.
That was the, yeah, that's the,
What?
I mean, it's just like one of the other things that people were saying, you know, apart from what you do, is like this open world is just so extraordinarily detailed that people couldn't quite.
So yeah, this is what was exciting. That wave of hype coming out of those sort of closed door showings to press really made me think of like, that was actually like, I think we're guilty of living in a world, no, we're not guilty. The industry is guilty, damn it. It's coming from inside the groundhog. We're guilty of a situation where like,
Oh, he's got a little upset tummy.
Of a situation where like tech has slowed down. Like games look better every year, but not a lot better. Like a big part of my sort of ennui from this year's E3 was partly like, I've played these. Like Battlefield looks nice, but it's Battlefield.
Ennui 3.
Yeah. Anthem, you know, like I invented the phrase door frame to identify the midpoint between Destiny and Warframe. Which is what it do. And they don't want to think like it be like it is, but it do. And like and that's difficult, to be excited about, I find. Cause it's the same thing, but a little bit prettier, but not like a lot prettier. And there was an era 10 plus years ago, where games could promise the fucking moon at E3. Like Valve reveal Half-Life 2 and it will do everything. You've never seen a fucking seesaw before.
Well, Sony could just have a video of some kind of feathers falling down and everyone would just
lose their fucking minds. Yeah. And so Cyberpunk feels like a return to that.
Is that The Last Guardian?
Yeah.
They finally did them 10 years later. Yeah.
And this is that, right? Like this is that happening. And that doesn't mean that game will turn out to be all of those things, but if something's capable of evoking that kind of like, slightly obviously sometimes embarrassing in retrospect, kind of like, I've got your real next gen here, then, good for them and it, because that is sort of what people are expecting from people like Kojima at the moment. And they showed more Death Stranding.
Just we should definitely talk about Death Stranding. But just on Cyberpunk, there is something that has I've been a little bit disquieted for ever since the first trailer.
Yeah.
Which is a certain letchiness to women.
Yes.
And there was a lot of, apparently, in the video that people, journalists were shown, the camera just, you can choose the gender of your character and all that kind of thing, but the one that's shown in the video is a woman, and the camera is just on her ass a lot, and there's a lot of kind of
nudity and stuff, yeah.
And like in a kind of like women nudity, not a man nudity. You know, less. You know, it's just it's a concern. Letchy feel,
and I don't think CD Projekt have the benefit of the doubt with that stuff. I think it's a legacy of the Witcher series.
Yeah,
like, and the Witcher series handled it better with every installment.
Yeah. But I was still like, my wife would come in the room and I'd go, ha ha, and she'd go, what are you doing?
I have a bit of a,
and then you tab back into The Witcher 3.
It's a good one.
Yeah. This is the thing. So this, like, I want to tread carefully about this stuff because, like, I work on a cyberpunk thing, and I've got really strong opinions about cyberpunk generally. It is of a type with, quite a lot of things that are considered to be cyberpunk, which is, it is 80s futurism. And that is more of a look than a setting. It's more of a sort of set of ideas. It takes a bit of work, I think, to successfully turn that set of tropes, that sort of 80s idea of what future tech would look like, into like a setting that means something. And I feel like they haven't shown that yet. What they've shown is the cool stuff you expect to see. You see someone's brain getting fried
and someone
by
with
a bad VR headset.
Mouth.
Yeah, you got
electric mouth.
It's just like, it's that sort of thing of, like that very 80s cyberpunk thing of like, sort of Scarface by way of Logan's Run. Like, and, you know, the ideas of what that money and tech gets used for, you know, I could talk about this at length, like this is probably a separate podcast even, but like, they haven't shown, like, it is relatively easy to show divides between rich and poor and gangsters who've got poor gangsters, but they've got robot arms, that kind of thing. It's quite difficult, I think, to tell a story that has, sort of, you know, yield some meaning and sort of weight out of those themes, the punkness of Cyberpunk. I don't think I've really seen that. It felt like, it looks like Cyber Rule of Cool at the moment. And that's, given benefit of the doubt, maybe, hopefully it will have a bit more substance to it than that. But I think, people had different responses to, William Gibson's reaction to it, thinking that it looked like a sort of 80s Cyberpunk skin over GTA.
Yeah.
But I completely get why he would think that. And I agreed with that initial impression. And I sort of trust.
Yeah, I agree.
Big Willie G.
Because,
on this sort of thing.
But at the same time, The Witcher 3 is, has a very, in many hands, that entire world and the way it's shown and everything in it could be profoundly kind of boring, and it absolutely is not. I love that game, despite its...
Yeah, this is what I mean. Like, that's, I guess what I'm saying, I'm a Witcher ignoramus, but that's an area where they have got benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
Like, that they can turn it. But I don't think you saw that from that trailer, and that's the area where I'd like to see them kind of...
I would agree.
That's where I'd like to see...
Well, we've got a whole PR campaign to wade through.
What is it about, other than your cool car?
Yeah.
What else is on the list, Pip? We should talk about Death Stranding at some point, but...
Oh, yeah, should we just do...
Yes, yeah. So your toenail come off, but you got a baby in a jar.
I showed my wife that trailer last night, and she was absolutely intrigued. She then got a little bit bored after the third or fourth minute of walking across the Hebrides. And then she got very bemused by the bit where he's walking across with a body on his back in a kind of wrapped up body.
Yeah.
And he nearly falls over.
Just a fun mummy.
Like your back mummy.
Mm.
So I have never seen a Death Stranding trailer. I have avoided them somehow. Like, it just hasn't been on my radar. But you sort of absorb these things through cultural osmosis. And so it's somewhere in my head. I think Norman Reedus gives birth to a whale.
Yeah, something like that.
Is that it?
It's fairly accurate.
He's got to eat a little
It's
bug.
accurate enough.
But, and also is a baby of himself. Is that a thing that
Maybe.
happens?
I think so. There's a baby in a little
There is a
jar.
baby, and the baby has a bum. So, this trailer, this very portentous trailer with a very dirgy song, I've got to say, it's a really dirgy kind of kind of indie light song, and but the whole thing, and it's very sort of somber feeling overall. But it starts with this kind of sort of view of the baby's arse.
So, the thing that strikes me every time people talk about it is that it seems to be less about a game that actually exists and more that someone is showing you a cinematic of their mood board.
Oh yeah,
It's definitely
super
felt like that.
Yeah.
This was the first one
Like,
that...
is there a game?
This is the first... Well, this is what we
saw
were talking about. Like,
there's
this is...
playable footage in there or played
okay.
footage in there.
Yeah, which was some sneaking and walking. It has a little light that
Climbing.
flashes to reveal sky umbilical ghost human adult fetuses.
None of the gameplay looked especially exciting.
Here's my concern, Alex. Here's my concern. If you are Hideo Kojima, you either retire a big boss or you live long enough to see yourself become David Cage.
He's got
And
nobody,
it's dangerously close.
he's got nobody on top of him anymore saying,
Don't
"Could
do
you just
that,
make a
Hideo."
game out of that."
Like,
Is this Quentin Tarantino syndrome?
a little bit,
It's like,
yes.
I will not be edited, and you're
Yeah.
like, "No."
So
But he has somebody's edited him until now. Somebody, like, for, to greater or lesser kind of efficiency, but now there's no one there. But there's still that Kojima-y kind of like, holy shit, that's a fucking cool detail.
yeah, there's an element of like, you've never seen this. Like, you don't know what it is, but you've never seen it. The game matters. What you do in the game matters. Like, Metal Gear, for all of its madness, like all of the stuff that got layered onto it, the stuff it turned out to be about, and like, it's his ideas, like the Kojima-ness of its invention.
Is it not just a man stuck in a box factory?
Yeah, at its core, it's a game about a man stuck in a box factory. No, well, at its core, it's a spy game, right? Like, its core, you can boil it down to a genre of cinema that has strong game applications, right? Like, you know, at the end of the day, you're going to shoot some people with a silenced pistol and it's going to go pheep, and it's going to be very gratifying.
Yeah.
And then, you know, and it could trade and develop on core mechanics that everyone understood and recognized and came to love, like the exclamation mark, alert.
Which also had, like, you know, if the first game was, 1987 or something, might be before then, it also had fucking 20 years to percolate.
And become, and then, and go through this, vanish for a bit and be reinvented as Metal Gear Solid and have all of this,
30 years, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, indeed, it's old as I am.
Yeah.
Which is not to say that Death Stranding couldn't be the start of something, but it's why it's so important, I think, to Metal Gear that, like, even if, like, so many people will have totally ignored all the cutscenes in 4 or 5, right? You know what I mean? Like, and they're interminable. But the way it could get away with 45 minutes of, like, the Hideo Kojima movie show is because you were playing this really fun stealth action game. Tactical espionage action. It needs a subtitle. Death Stranding needs a subtitle.
So I think that's why Death Stranding has had such a focus on the actors.
Death Stranding, hiking, baby mystery.
Yeah. Oh no, it's Mads Mikkelsen,
Norman Reedus,
and then 2 actors, female actors who I don't actually know.
It can be Maxwell, Bionic Woman, and...
Well, that's right, yeah. Who Kojima's characteristically really weird about. I was obsessed with one of the Bionic Woman as a child, so I put her into my new game, but then artificially made her younger, so she's always the woman I loved.
Wow.
It's all in, it's amazing.
Is she naked for breathing reasons?
Probably.
No.
Probably.
Yeah, God. So my friend Dan, I was having this conversation. She does wear a trouser suit. I was having this conversation last night.
On a beach.
That feels like just...
Surrounded by dead whales.
What do humans wear to the beach? My mood board says.
My wife, oh god, no, you say.
I was going to say, so me and my friend Dan were talking about this last night, and in the photo you see him holding in the trailer, an older version of her appears to be in it. Nice. People getting older and younger rapidly may well be a thing. Oh, so this is it. This is the knackering way in which Hideo Kojima gets the benefit of the
doubt. My wife was upset with, I think she's not interested in Kojima or anything like that at all, but, she'd obviously immediately zeroed in on the fact that, he's obsessive about detail. Like everything has to kind of be, fit into the universe of the game and to be the very most kind of fidelitizing good.
It's just
faithful.
Good. It's
faithful.
Highfalutin. Yeah.
And she was really upset by the invisible hand printing beast that kind of walks about in the sand. The fact that as it's stepping, there's no
you just watch
weight transference as it goes.
Yeah.
Hang on, is this like a weird like subversion of, why were there only one set of footprints in the sand?
Yeah.
And Jesus is like,
Probably.
well,
at that point,
so let me tell you about the handprint ones.
I was a big teleporting invisible baby doing a handstand.
It doesn't really lend itself to the inspirational posters so much, does it?
No.
Yeah.
Oh, can I talk about another mad Japanese game?
Yeah.
That is really good though. Yakuza is coming to the PC platform. The BBC. Micro.
Starting with Yakuzero.
Yakuzero, yeah, which is actually a more recent Yakuza game. That will be coming out first because it's actually
the most recent game.
It's actually because it's the earliest game. It's in the sequence.
Yeah.
It's the earliest game. And then Yakuza Kimari. Anyway, which is a remake of Yakuza 1 that comes after that. If you haven't played Yakuza, this is good news because Yakuza is cool. And it's cool because it's just a game that you settle into and you play walking around an open stretch of kind of sort of incredibly real feeling Japanese city. So, Yakuza 0 is set in, Tokyo and in, another city. And you walk around, you take quests, there's very, very, very long cutscenes. There are insane mini games in which you do karaoke and, oh God, all sorts of things. You play games and you just all sorts of things. And you just settle into it and and it's got this goofy sort of lovableness underneath this hard-boiled kind of Yakuza kind of culture, depiction. And so people are getting shot and there's kind of real stuff going on, but also your hard-boiled character into the series owns an orphanage and looks after children and will take a quest looking after puppies and helps little children who are queuing up to buy like the latest game that's just been released and someone steals their copy that they finally got. It's
Kick the shit
he's
out
got
of
this heart of gold, which somehow this game manages. And I think it's part of my kind of sort of I play it quite wrapped. And I think that the fascination for me is how it treads this razor blade
threads that needle,
of just sort of him being believably kind of heart-filled and also just punching everybody he meets. But it has this sort of internal rule where he never starts a fight. He just wins it at the end, and somehow I think that's part of it.
That's sort of I was going to say like the Mr. T logic. Do I mean that? It's sort of like a pro wrestler's kind of personality, right? Like he's a face.
Violence is bad, kids, but always make sure you win.
If you're going to suplex somebody, do it like this.
So I'm really pleased that it's coming out, and I hope that it goes down well on PC, because if anybody's expecting some sort of free roaming open world game, sort of set in kind of like this hard boiled world, like and maybe they've also absorbed the kind of like the zany side of it and think that it's all going to be laughs and laughs. Like, it's not that, and you will be sitting there waiting for cutscenes to end a lot, but like, you just let that wash over you and, I love it.
What else be on the list?
So a game that I don't necessarily want to talk about a lot, but which the game continues to look amazing, is Sea of Solitude. It's the one which is essentially about a girl called Kay who starts to turn into a monster because loneliness causes humans to become monstrous. And it's about her adventures in this world as she tries to sort of, I guess, figure out what has happened to her and also to the monsters she encounters and stuff like that. And I don't really know much else about it. I think they've spoken a little bit in the past about, what one can expect or do in that game. I think, it's things like mentioning that the emotional state of the main character or, surrounding monsters can affect things like the water level in the world as you sort of motorboat around. But also, there's a part of me that is content just to be interested in it and then wait till it comes out and play it, rather than, keep it in mind, and that might just be me not liking to anticipate games. I prefer to forget about them and be surprised by them when they arrive. Limited success in that with the industry that I work in and needing to write news and be aware of things. But, I remember actively trying to forget about games that I'm excited about, because otherwise I just, you ruin it for yourself by scouting out all the details or trying to figure out what it is, and then if it isn't that, how do you make peace with it, or all of that stuff. So it just seemed to be a charming indie project with a lot of heart and water.
Who's it made by?
I think it is Yomai Games, which is a German studio, but the reason that it was on the big stage was because EA have picked it up for their EA Originals thing, but it's been knocking around for a while now. So I think people have seen, GIFs of it at various stages, and they've done interviews every now and again. So yeah. But yeah, so that was beautiful. And then one that I'm, that is more, I guess, did you guys see Morningstar?
No.
So it was a trailer that started off very, farming sim-y in terms of, I'm thinking more in terms of Stardew Valley, and you're you know, growing crops or whatever. But then the trailer shifts into being you know, I think a computer in a warehouse.
Oh, is this one?
You know, that thing. And so it feels like they're actually just using the farming experience as an analogy for you trying to, I guess, use the technology that has ruined the world to try and rebuild it. So you're essentially cultivating systems and communities and people, but, you know, the analog would be, you know, actually making a garden or something. And I really liked that idea. I have no idea how it's going to come out and whether it's going to be something that I subsequently enjoy playing. Because I do genuinely enjoy the aesthetic of, you know, a garden as opposed to
a server farm.
It was, but you know, there was sufficient in that idea that I was suddenly, oh, okay. I just thought, you know, when I was scrubbing through, glancing at things, just going, oh, okay, well that, you know, that'll be a thing that isn't up my alley at all because it just looks like a, you know, a game about computers. But it, you know what I mean? Like, no, but okay.
Game on computer, fine. Game about computer, not.
No.
But, you know, because I know my limitations, or I know what I find quite frustrating or that doesn't come naturally. But that idea felt kind of interesting enough that it's something that I want to see more of or know more of.
Yes.
Control? Was that on either of your lists?
That's one I completely I haven't seen.
I would like to give them a big shout out for winning the 2018 Volume Award for Ungoogleable Video Game Name.
Control.
And you can't even put Control Game because it's like, oh.
No, you can't put Game Control, you can't put Control Game. To be honest, even if you put Remedy Game Control, then you might just get the controls for Alan Wake. Like,
or it might just be like, oh, you're having this problem with your controller.
Yeah, like, exactly.
Oh.
I do like the look of it a lot. The sort of crazy X-Files concept episode shooter thing
looks somewhere
is neat.
between, do you remember that film Cube about that?
The Cube.
The Cube that reconfigures itself.
Yes, it does, yeah.
So it's set in that house that reconfigures itself in that weird Escher-esque way, but also the aesthetic and, you know, people floating in midair and the sort of slightly noirish. It reminded me more of Inside. Is it Inside? You know, Playdead's the one after Limbo.
Inside.
Yeah. Inside.
Yeah. I think
it reminded me a lot of that.
If I was writing a back of the box blurb for the story in the manner of famously The Division, I would say that it was set on the day when the cubism went bad.
I see. But yeah, so that is one that I think will be, because Remedy, I think I'll play it. You know, I'll see what they've got
How
to
similar
say.
is it to Quantum Leap?
I don't know because I didn't play Quantum Break. I knew what you were trying to get me to do. Not this time, Alex. It looks like very much like a game Remedy would make.
I think because
I mean that in a good way.
Did remind me of the X-Files, same as you. Like, that's the key to making me more interested than I would be. I think I would normally go, that is definitely a Remedy game, and the people around me who I know really enjoy their games will tell me if it's one of the ones I will enjoy.
Good Remedy.
Right? But this actually, you know, it felt like it was a lot more the sort of things that I will habitually seek out for entertainment. You know, that X-Files-y.
Yeah, I like it. It was almost on my list. But didn't quite make it because of my process of pruning down to 2 games.
Was that what we were supposed to do?
I think that people kind of cheated here.
Yeah.
Well, hang on, were we supposed to do that?
It was going to be with 2 games each year, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't read that far into the email.
Because Chris did say at the start of the whole podcast, he said, we won't pick all of the games of E3 because that would be too much.
Well, I haven't, but that speaks to this buffet of E3 that I was talking about earlier.
So FIFA 19, what are your thoughts?
A big shout out. A big shout out to the 5 games we didn't get around
to. I'm so sorry.
Because they were on consoles or something. I don't know. No, that's absolutely fine. That's absolutely fine.
I'll get rid of that one then. So in that case, I will just mention the others, but for the reasons.
She's still going.
Yeah, I am, because I've committed to this, Alex. So I wanted to mention Captain Spirit, which is the Don't Nod thing that is set in the same universe as Life is Strange. And I only really wanted to mention it because I'm still not sure how I feel about further Life is Strange games, and even less sure how I feel about, expanding that universe. Like, I get it, but at the same time, I'm wary because I loved Life is Strange. It had its problems, but I loved it. And and the prequel was also interesting. Like so I've written about that before and talked about it before. But
is it a bit like the prospect of a Dad's Army feature film coming out, the other year? Well, is it like that?
No.
You just leave these things.
It's not at all. In no way is it like that.
I can't even with you. This must be how you feel with me a lot. I think it's partly that Did
they finish this up? Because I played like half of the first one of the first Life is Strange. I only didn't play it anymore because I got it on PS4 and it runs horrible and on there, and
it does run horrible.
And I was kind of distracted and yeah.
That's reasonable.
I wanted to play more and I just didn't get around to it. But
so the thing I think I'm a bit concerned about with Don't Nod is that, because they've got the Life is Strange 2 coming up, haven't they got another thing? And there's like a TV show, and then now there's this, and I'm just a little bit worried that they are going to return to that well too many times.
Well, I think that the fact that this new one is free, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's basically a vehicle for publicity. So then it's the fate of the series is.
What was
They've also got that other one, haven't they? They've got a different thing that they're working on that is somehow tied into Bandai Namco.
Yeah,
I think.
What's that? Yeah, that's
the one that's set in like rural America somewhere.
Yeah.
I can't remember the update on that, but anyway. But yeah, I sort of it was equally intriguing to me, but also I'm not.
I was kind of unconvinced by the kind of father-son dad.
I think I wanted
kind of
to see more.
That's a thumbs down from our dad correspondent.
I wanted to see more of it to know whether the negative judgment I'd made was fair. But that's not a great reason.
I think to celebrate that negative.
We sure have.
Okay,
we sure have on this episode.
Like, in a world where they sort of had an interesting female character dynamic, and I really, really loved that and celebrated that. Then to sort of have a thing that, this was a thing that I think, didn't Transference have a similar, it was that Elijah Wood thing.
Oh, yeah.
And it was basically like a man who wasn't there for his kid has now somehow trapped him in VR or something. I don't know, uploaded him to a server and I don't know.
Dad drama.
Dad mishaps. That's what you come to video games for.
And after God of War, that's done the ultimate
the final dad.
The final dad.
And maybe it's just that, I'm not the target audience and that people who feel very
I would say that
a
Life is Strange fan is pretty squarely in the people they should be appealing to.
Yeah.
But I kind of looked at it and thought, wow, that's another story in that mold that I don't want to sit through. And that worries me because it's like, are you just going to keep going back to this popular well and diluting it with things that I just have no interest in?
How do you dilute a well?
Look!
Are you going back to the well and then pissing in it?
Is this after the strawberry?
And then the well is full of strawberries.
Are they pissy strawberries at this point, or is that later? Are they being washed?
That's why they're in the well, Alex, obviously. Keep up. Look, I don't know what I'm talking about because that analogy went really, really wrong. Anyway, so that was the thing that I only wanted to touch on for a sentence. Babylon's Fall also just looked fun.
Oh, yeah.
That was,
Babylon's
It's the
Fall.
new Platinum game.
Oh, yeah,
that was the trailer that was like, which one is this? And then it's like a new game from Platinum. And you're like, oh.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
It looked okay.
I liked how all
Yeah.
of the enemies looked upholstered. It was like brilliant.
It was,
great.
yeah, they did. It was firmly in the category of games, as with everything from the Bethesda conference, where I'm like, boy, good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Platinum.
Yeah.
And my final sentence, Ooblets continues to look lovely.
I was thinking, nobody said Ooblets yet. And you said Ooblets, so that's saved.
The dance offs just, mwah. I thought Chris would be super into that.
You didn't see it.
I haven't seen it.
Oh, I see. I thought somehow the dance off would have called you from
He'd
behind
have sensed it.
I've been too well catered to.
Vegetables dance sauce thing.
Yeah.
How I feel about that. That sounds like it's a crime against nature, but I will check it out.
So that's all of E3.
That's all of E3. And we legit do not have time to talk about what we've been playing this week.
I'm so sorry.
So we'll bounce straight to questions.
Why didn't...
Indeed.
So when I brought out a sheet of paper with a lot more than 2 game names written on it, what were you thinking?
I thought,
Why did you not intervene?
I'm not the note police. That could have been... I don't...
Notes.
Just notes. I'm not going to interfere in someone else's note business. Your note business is your own business.
Look,
You just like words.
but also I had no way of knowing the volume of Alex's note taking because he
You
was
did.
using his telephone.
Because of the email.
There was
An email.
it was a beautifully concise email, I thought as well.
Yeah.
I believe
Easy
I
to understand.
responded to it.
And you did. In 2 emails, in fact.
You responded to it twice.
In fact, your second email said which games you were going to look at.
Did they?
Yeah.
Did I?
Yeah.
What was that? Okay, fine. I don't
I'm
know.
gonna check.
But that would
It
make
was-
a lot more sense because when you came downstairs for this podcast and said, no need, they're in my head. And
Yeah.
I was like, wow.
Because
You're
there
gonna
were 2 of
remember a
them.
lot.
Good. Well, it's okay. Our takes on what we've been playing will keep for another
You
week.
can always, excise this from the podcast.
No, because
It is the podcast.
it is the
It's been
podcast.
done now.
It was good.
It's very late at
I think
night,
it was
Pip.
top quality content.
I can easily sit on my takes on Vampire and Jurassic World Evolution until next week.
Indeed.
I have opinions on at least one of those.
Yeah.
It's
Let's go to
Vampire.
questions.
Let's do some
Do you have any questions?
Let's do the questions.
Okay.
So that we can go to sleep.
Robot
E3.
Chris there.
It's so exhausting.
When you're not there and not really paying attention until you're suddenly intensely paying attention.
That half hour I spent researching is really hitting me.
It is. You'll be very pleased to know that our first question comes from me, Chris, and it is, am I going to sneeze? Because I feel like I am.
It looks like you are.
I mean, live the sneeze you want to be in the world.
I was going to burp. Anyway, let's move on. Sam writes, greetings. I was playing an early...
Greetings.
Greetings.
Sam,
I've broken this. Sam writes, greetings. Help. He doesn't write. I wrote that with my mouth.
mouth writing.
I was playing an early build of Terry Kavanagh's Dicey Dungeons a week or so before it was discussed in episode 2 for 1, and I experienced a curious phenomenon. That's a rhyme.
What?
While I played, particularly while musing on where to assign dice in some of the more fiddly fights, also a rhyme. Ish, a half rhyme. I heard the voice of Tom Francis in my head breaking down.
I think Chris is broken.
I heard
E3 broke Chris.
I heard the voice of Tom Francis in my head, breaking down the tactical situation I was in the style of his recountings of Play on the Pod, or his YouTube playthroughs of games like Into the Breach. Needless to say, hearing him actually discuss Dicey Dungeons in episode 241 was at once familiar and eerie.
Tom and his eerie
Yeah,
game descriptions.
have any of you ever experienced a phenomenon like this as you played a game? He describes this as inventing your own streaming / let's play commentary from someone you know personally or through the media. And that's from Sam. I like to think it means, have you ever personally experienced a visitation from Tom Francis?
Perching on the chair.
To be fair, I actually do, to some extent, I've never heard his voice.
Who, Tom?
Yeah.
You know what he looks like.
I've never,
I don't listen to the
I've
man.
never
instantiated his voice.
I've never
within...
hallucinated his voice over a game that
when
I'm
he phones
playing.
me, I hang up.
Don't speak!
242 episodes, and I've edited most of them and listened to a word of him. No, what I mean is I never hallucinated, but Tom has a very distinctive way of playing games. And I did work with Tom in the office, in the PC Gamer office for a long time, where every lunchtime, it wouldn't be lunchtime if Tom hadn't shouted at some point, "Oh, come on!"
Yeah, that is the only phrase that I know he says.
And so there's, sometimes that does come into my mind.
Pokemon noise.
Yeah, it would be. Yeah.
It wouldn't be his own name.
Oh, come on! Gotta catch him.
So good.
Who's that? Oh, come on! It's Tom Francis!
This question has gone so weird.
I mean, no, the question was, no, not
the
weird,
answer
but
has gone wrong.
it was destined.
Are you haunted by a YouTuber?
Is it a popular streamer?
Yeah.
Do they visit
no,
you?
I don't really have I guess
You're under the influence.
I think, so I genuinely, I think I have a different thing because I edit most of the pods. I will spend whole days or whole mornings, enmeshed in the voices, in the voices of my friends, Tom, Marsh, Pip, Alex. I'll hear your voices a lot and often in the background I'm just listening for the show notes or something like that or editing or whatever. So I listen to twice as much of you guys as anyone else does because I'm here when it happens and then I edit it. So
I'm not listening even
so
more.
Sometimes this used to happen both when I lived with Marsh and also now that I live with you, Pip. I would back then it would be I wouldn't see Marsh all day because he'd be in his office or something, and then I'd see him in the kitchen, but I'd assume that I'd been talking to him all day. So anyway, it would be nice to get a break.
Yeah. Oh, Mark, just get out. Christ.
Jesus.
I just want to see a human being.
He would say. And the same is true with you.
I do, sometimes when I interrupt you while you're pocket, you do seem to get very confused and also, what do you need now?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, I've had similar things, not exactly the same, but I used to do transcribing a lot, and I remember you sent me a file that you needed transcribed for work, and you said hello and I said hello back, which was not my finest hour, especially given that I was in a cafe at the time. So things like that happen. I will say I don't get that, but I think maybe that's more because I don't listen to or watch people playing games in that way.
I agree. I think it might be a slightly generational and cultural thing.
But I will say, if I have been binging on work by an author who has a very distinctive voice, I do start incorporating their phraseology into my internal monologue, I guess.
Yeah.
It happens quite a lot with there's an author called Barbara Pym who is amazing. But I do find it's less so in conversation, but more in in that internal monologue where I'm just sort of pottering around the house that her turns of phrase pop up, and they're quite archaic. So if they start making their way into my writing or my language, it's, it doesn't really help with the idea that I'm accidentally from the 30s or so, from some rural.
I got that with Cormac McCarthy. It's clipped sort of 3-word sentences.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely absorb mannerisms, but that's a different thing. That's just imitative speech.
Yeah. Or when you come back from seeing your family and you're suddenly a lot more Scouse.
Yeah. Yeah, that's booze or family or both. It does that.
But yeah, so kind of ish, but not in
this
that
particular
same
way.
Yeah,
way.
not in the way of Tom crouching upon his shoulder.
Our next question is
I'd just be like, Tom, why are you here? Like, how did you get in? Did we forget to lock the door?
Well, our next question is actually from a Tom. There are more than one of them. He writes, this Tom writes, Dear Cress Thurston, Tom Fransegg, Philippa Warburtons, and guest condiments.
That's a sandwich. What part of the sandwich would you be, Alex?
The limp bit of
Alec,
cucumber.
Wiltshire ham.
Wilted lettuce. Alice wilted lettuce.
He writes,
No worries. Anytime.
It was the BLT that ended a friendship. Tom writes, because we need to get through these questions. Are some games too big to get into now? I don't know why I'm enjoying this cadence so much, but I do. My group of friends play a lot of online games, and I feel I've missed the boat on some of them. I've not been into MOBAs before, so the idea of needing 2,000 hours experience before becoming competent is daunting. Conversely, Rainbow Six Saigi seems more accessible to me, though I haven't jumped on the Siege train just yet. Is that just because FPS is a genre I'm used to, or is there something different about their advertising of the game? How do big, you need a lot of experience to join in games entice new people in? Am I approaching it or looking at it the wrong way? Or is accessibility for competitive games a wider problem? Loving the pod. Tom.
I think the key is one of his first sentences, which is friends. Like, I don't think I could ever get into a multiplayer game without
Owen Hill.
Friends, yeah. Pretty much is. I still haven't played Fortnite, which is probably a crime, isn't it?
Yeah.
Maybe we should play
Youth Police coming for you.
And that's because I kind of want to play. I need to play it with a friend, preferably one that knows, what to do. I just, that faltering first kind of stumbling about the thing.
I quite like that stuff. I'm maybe not the person to ask.
I think it's interesting because I think that the idea that you need, that it is the type of game that needs that level of experience to participate fully can get in the way of itself, because as somebody who has that 2,000 hours of Dota under my belt, I can happily say I am not competent in any way, shape or form. In fact, Chris and I were having a conversation the other day about how I feel like I know less now than I did at the start, because now
just how much you don't know.
Yeah, and I'm less confident in just picking the same few heroes, because I feel like, it's probably to my detriment, or I should, try and experience more things, or be expert in more things, or know what everyone's spells do and be on the receiving end of to get out of this, to make progress, or, to be able to meaningfully contribute. Whereas I think that can just get in the way of you playing the game, because you start second guessing yourself, or you start feeling like,
I think Alex is right that the way into these games is just having friends you can play with. I think one of the reasons that the Battle Royale is such a successful genre is its skill requirement is very broad, and sort of obfuscated by the structure of the game. Like, you are heavily dependent on your teammates, to a degree that can make hyper-competitive play appealing, in that if you're all very good, you can make use of that. But strangely, it doesn't really matter. Like, there's a strange thing, like, in any MOBA you might name, there is a requirement. It makes a big difference if there is someone on the team who is not as experienced. It changes the dynamic totally. It not just makes things harder for the person who's new, it puts a lot of extra pressure on. I was talking to a friend about this last night, that it's a very different experience for us. A friend who is about the same level as me in Dota, he's a little bit better. But when we play, we tend to get matched people who are on the same level. But normally we're playing people with widely different ratings. And it's difficult for everybody, because it puts me in an uncomfortable position of usually having to carry a little bit harder than I want to. And whereas in a Battle Royale game, differences in skill level are less pronounced, because there's just the possibility space is so broad.
Yeah, you might not get shot.
Yeah, and if you do,
then you watch your friends stumble about and then they die, and then you.
But then you'd also say that in any shooter, there is a basic thing that you can communicate and that is shared across all the characters, as in if you shoot
go on.
If you shoot the character, the other, the enemy, then you have done a good thing. Whereas there are so many things I think for me, Rainbow Six Siege, even though I find it hugely overcomplicated in terms of the stuff at my disposal to use, I still think it's fundamentally a more approachable prospect because it is at the end of the day.
I was just going to say that the Siege does really, sort of, I'd feel daunted.
Yeah, I was going to
because that other members of the team are going to go, don't put that there. That isn't part of the plan. You've got to put it there and there. Look, not that window. That isn't in the meta at the moment.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Like Siege for me is the shooter where that doesn't apply because the knowledge, I guess what you're talking about. So you're talking about games that are predominantly tactical in execution, which most shooters are. So it's just about your twitch skill. I mean, a little bit more accessible because everyone's on that spectrum somewhere of skill. Siege has a MOBA's level of knowledge, knowledge ceiling, knowledge climb, whatever you'd call it, as well. So if you don't know the maps, the positions of the cameras, what characters to play, how to play them, where to go, when to go there, what walls to sit by, more so than Counter-Strike even, then you're doing it wrong. And it's possible, it would be rare that shooting the bad man would be a mistake, but you could end up distracting the enemy team in a way that fucks up the playbook that everybody else agrees on. So it is actually easy as a new player to completely fuck up.
Yeah, I can't.
Siege.
I just don't. I don't even know.
Like I learned,
unless it's with a team of friends.
I learned by just religiously following other people and kind of doing what they were doing. And even then, that's a mistake sometimes because it's like, oh, you're playing this character. Why aren't you flanking?
Why are you?
Yeah.
You should be over there. Why are you following me around?
Yeah, exactly.
But even like a friend, like even friends who are into that game, who are actual IRL friends, they've been so immersed in just playing that they haven't been able to really help me. I'm just sort of feeling like a spare wheel.
Dota's actually better for that because people have downtime.
And also it's more visible, like, you can watch other players.
Even the crazy, like, driving your little remote control robot camera around at the start of a Siege level is like, there's a ritual to that and how you do things and how you check things and how you do and don't hide your camera bot that is all stuff you have to learn.
Terrifying.
It's great, but it's terrifying.
I think, what it always boils down to is the people that you play with. So, even if they are super advanced, if they are people who you can trust not to shout at you while you try and figure things out, or who you will always have a laugh with when you are hanging out, then I think that that's always a good thing. And I know that not everyone gets to do that. You don't necessarily have X amount of friends who are also willing to either buy the thing or install the thing or, play with you at whatever time. So it is a bit of a luxury, but there are definitely groups of people who I will happily hang out with, and do whatever. Like, it doesn't matter what we're playing. It's the fact that those people will always make me laugh, or they won't have a go at me if I don't do the exact right thing. They might get a bit chippy if we've been trying to do a thing for ages, like a Destiny raid or something. But, and they're the sort of people who, because I remember, trying to review multiplayer things for work, and it's weirdly distorting to play it with people you genuinely get on with, because you sometimes think, oh, this is a better game than it is because you like the people. And so you have to sort of try and play it with, with strangers to actually recalibrate that sense of, but yeah, I think if you can, and also, some of the games have been better at the onboarding process more recently. So Dota used to be this just, you learn, you get good. There's a reason that Purge's like intro sequence was called, welcome to Dota, you suck, or, words to that effect. And so, but now it's got things like, it has the bare bones of a tutorial. It has other tools that you can use, and it has turbo mode, which takes the pressure off, and you can experiment with characters, and it's a bit less of a pressure cooker environment.
I think it's interesting. I think one thing about that is always true, and it applies across these games, is I think with a lot of these games, it's actually better to enter the game with a team of friends who are equally new than to rely on the kind of expert friend showing you the ropes thing. I think that's sort of underrated part of it. Like, I think if you can find that situation, that opens up Rainbow Siege tremendously, because you don't know what the best thing to do is. You just do what you think is right.
And you'll be matchmaked against...
exactly. The matchmaking
people.
thing.
And you also get that cute, like, interaction of, you know, a friend who you maybe have in that group going away and going, oh, I read this thing and it says we should be over here this time. So do you want to try that?
Which is Owen Hill saying, I've been on Reddit subreddit for this for 5 days, and I half know
one thing. And he's right. Our next question kind of touches on this, so I won't read it out now because it is related, and we were almost getting into that territory. So it's from Travis, who writes, how about that multiplayer? Fuck Chris, you idiot.
Wow, he's sent a mean letter.
Travis writes, hello. How about that multiplayer game trajectory? Chaotic equality at release as everyone finds their footing, followed by a meta emerging and a distillation of the player base. A patch occasionally rustles the meta, but equilibrium returns. Obsessive 16-year-olds rule the roost. Eventually, death.
I mean, job done. That's a good summary.
I was trying to read this in the manner of like I don't know, like the not announcer. What am I talking about? What do they call the person who narrator? That's it. Of like a Storage Wars show or something.
What do you call the person who narrates the thing?
I enjoy the first few months because I'm old and gainfully employed. The chaos allows for a breadth of playstyles rather than the rarefied optimum. Is there a way of keeping a game in this early state? If so, why hasn't it been done? Yours, Travis, aka TJ Howes on Discord. I'm going to start a fire, and say,
okay.
So you are going to answer it as well.
Yes. And
that's an ornamental fireplace.
I am going to say that Dota 2 does solve this problem. And it is one of the only games that solves this problem that always feels new and dynamic and unsolved, which I think is that early status you are looking for.
There is a whole patch that disagrees with you.
I don't think that it addresses his specific example.
I think it does. And
because but it's not like the equality kind of chaotic equality where everybody kind of is stumbling around.
You cannot have equality in a competitive game forever. People can't be equally good at it.
Why?
Because people get good at things.
It's not fair.
People spend time. Humans.
It's not fair.
So humans spend time and learn things.
Why? Why are there poor people? Why is there death?
I do not learn anything.
But for people on the same skill band,
join me in my Dota 2 adventures. Never played that before.
What's this? Dota manages it because it's both hugely deep and constantly changing, and those are the two things you need. You need a big, deep well. You need to just keep adding,
big, deep
just keep adding strawberries.
Chuck them in. Piss in the well. Piss in.
Sometimes you piss in the well. Sometimes you pour tea down the well. I don't know. What am I talking about? Help.
Stir the well. Keep it
Dota
fresh.
solves this. If you know,
keep the strawberries fresh by pissing on them.
With the exception of the fact that
ammonia keeps them fresh.
It is flatly too much to ask for a competitive game to remain equal for all.
I think
players.
that is the thing. Like for a game to be good,
yeah.
You can have a really shit game that's so bad there aren't any kind of inherent
flipping a coin or rolling a dice.
Yeah.
Those are games that remain equal for all players at all times.
So basically, Travis, you're doomed. You're doomed. Or you keep buying new games and you go bankrupt.
So something that I have found interesting, because I think we've had actually pretty similar conversations, because not necessarily with Dota being new, because it was obviously not new even when the beta on the Steam side
the ongoing beta.
It's out now.
They're currently having to ban a particular kind of very big bird from use in the open qualifiers for the international, because people have discovered that it's the whirlwind it can make interferes with the hitbox for the actual fucking navigation cursor, the mouse cursor of players, in such a way that if you try and get past it, you go backwards.
Hang on, is this one of the neutral groups?
Yeah, the Wild Wing.
Yeah.
A banned. If you abuse that Wild Wing,
Nice.
you get kicked out of the international.
Oh, wow. I
Lordy.
didn't know that.
Is a
I'm so behind.
quality bug. Anyway.
So, where was I? What was I talking about? Who are you?
Dota 2.
So,
Games.
yeah, hang on.
E3. Death Stranding.
No, stop messing with my head.
Why, the baby in there?
No, we were talking about, hang on, we were talking
Where
about
is it?
Friends.
Baby in the Dead Whale.
And then,
Sable looks nice.
no, hang on, I had a point. It was probably going to be great. We don't know.
Teasing Pip is a game
Man-eater.
that remains equal for all players.
You are the shark.
So, no, I do, because when we first started playing Dota with a handful of friends, people were in that sort of experimental mindset and excited to
True
try
that.
weird things. And,
Yeah.
I really loved that. And then as soon as you get to the point where, because, people do try and figure out what works, and that, it makes sense. And I do think that as long as there are, better combinations than others, there will always be that spectre of a meta hanging over it, even if it's only a mild one, right?
Yeah.
And I genuinely miss that. And I think I've written before about this trajectory that friendships take. Because, after that initial thing when everyone's finding their footing, other people will, zoom off into the distance and other people will fall behind. And it's about navigating that and sort of, the hurt that can cause. Because it really can if you spend a lot of time with a game or with people.
All competitive multiplayer games that you play with your friends take place during the last summer before everyone goes off to college in a teen drama.
Yeah, that's it. It's very, dead on.
But there's
people
also...
say-
And which is heightened by the kind of the Destiny leveling, which will actually, quite apart from personal skill, just sheer time will tear you apart.
Damn. Don't you? Anyway, Pip, you were saying?
There was, I was going to say something and I swear it was going to be profound or something, and I don't even remember what I was talking about 3 minutes ago. What was I talking about just? Because I swear that
playing with a group of friends and everyone zooms off in different directions and people move on and everyone changes and life just changes around you, and sometimes you feel the same but your friends are all different and sometimes they're different but so are you. And you meet and you have nothing to say, but then you do and you remember how it was and you think, thanks for
You
God
said
for
all of
beer.
this.
What was the actual question?
Is it
How
reasonable
does the game stay?
for a competitive multiplayer game to maintain that honeymoon pizzazz?
Oh, yeah.
I think you just have
Halcyon.
to buy a new game and convince all your friends to play that with you. And just as people start to kind of find their feet and feel good about playing, you've got to yank them out and get them into another game.
Yeah.
I think that is the solution. Dabble. But,
Dabble.
I think life is an endless cavalcade of disappointment and lost beauty.
And a 16-year-old will always be better at you in any given computer game. And you and I can walk into Fortnite, if you like, Alex.
We should do that. Step
But
into
at this point, this is a lot like it's end of the night and the pub is closing and you go, do you want to go to a club? And you go to a club for 5 minutes, you're like, oh no.
Oh, it's very loud in here.
So I remember what I was thinking.
There's somebody standing on a rocket going past your head.
Exactly. How are they building that big ramp?
Oh, how do you build? Pip.
So the thing that I meant to say, which is not as profound as I thought, but it was this sense of the meta does solidify into this thing and becomes a set of, precepts that people take and, build on, but the fundamental shape doesn't change. And it's things like I sometimes found myself in Dota playing and, we would assign lanes and roles and whatever else. And I'd just have this little rebellious thing in the back of my mind going, what if we just don't? What if we don't lane, right?
Yeah,
what if we don't, what if there is this secret other way to play this game that is actually just as good, but that just doesn't look like what everyone does. And maybe the game just shook down into this format and has become this thing. And there's the scope for it to be so much more or different or whatever. But we've now got stuck in this feedback loop of this is how it just is.
I think that's a mark of it. Like, I think that gets to what Chris was saying about Dota, in that, like, it's a game that has so much in it that it would support that sense of kind of wondering.
That is what makes Dota so magical. Is
like, you just don't, but you
everything
don't
works. Like, everything can work.
But I mean, and so I sort of get what you're getting at with that, but I do think that at this point there's that feedback loop of this is how people play, and therefore we balance around that. And I think even maybe if it wasn't necessarily as set in stone,
that's bad balancing though. Like, to balance simply to support the existing way people play. They want to shake things up like all the time.
But I mean, you know, I'm obviously expressing the sentiment badly, but there are some building blocks of, you know, it isn't just that this is a map that happens to have people on it and we can do whatever, right? It's not that it's balanced to produce a certain type of play, but it is balanced with something in mind.
To some extent, although, like, I would say that one of the interesting things about the most recent, like, year of Dota or so is that, and I don't want to get too deep into this because it's the end of the pod and everyone's tired and everyone wants to go to sleep. But something that has struck me as notable about the way that the game's been patched is that push towards generalization, the push towards the idea that anyone can do anything, and that the way things are laned, particularly at the skill bracket most people play at, doesn't really matter. Like, hardcore support characters getting absurd carry talents late in their trees. So suddenly Crystal Maiden, the kind of, you know, picture of a support as most people think it in Dota, has this plus 100 attack speed talent at level 20, which means that carry Maiden is a thing. Like, it's never the way most people are going to play it, but it sits there and it was deliberately added. They could have given her 2 support talents, but they gave her this crazy machine gun talent.
But I think that we're talking about 2 different things then.
I was only speaking to, I guess, the intent behind the way the game is balanced and maintained. The intent with Dota patches to me always appears to be to at least throw things into disarray and provide more opportunities for surprising upset within that meta.
I think that is fair, and there has always been more scope with Dota characters to be flexible picks than with, for example, League, right? But I would say that there is still, you know, it's not as if you get to do anything in that it's not a sandbox, right?
I totally see what you mean. Like, it's only going to be within the template.
There is still an idea of laning, right?
But
it's not necessarily the way that you apportion that is always the same. And it's not necessarily that, you know, like, oh, suddenly we've got 3 junglers and that's interesting. You know, like that could be fine, right? But that's the nature of learning
anything. Like, you know, when you don't know it, like, anything seems possible.
Yeah, like, I see what you mean. Like,
space narrows down.
The game is ultimately about pulling experience and gold from various sources, and that's an absolute, like, and there are a finite number of them, and they are varying degrees of efficient. So lanes are the most efficient,
and somebody's going to be assigned to the lanes, and you're going to be playing the same.
Yeah, like, you don't have to go to the lanes, but you kind of do, like, you know, and that's sort of core to the game's design. I do appreciate that. Like, yeah, there's a limit on how radical your approach can be, but it's more so than most MOBAs.
But it's Call of Duty, you're running about.
But that's what I was kind of getting at, is like, what if, you know, in that first flush of this thing existing, people had decided that, you know, the optimum way to play it was to have, you know, somebody who was in a lane for the first 3 waves and then swapped to, you know, like, as in to have everybody being, you know, swapping between different things at all points, right? Like, having sort of pathways that you follow from lane to jungle to lane to whatever. And just sort of having that as the dominant thing, and, you know, laning not existing per se. I just find that as an interesting kind of
certainly. I certainly see what you mean.
So, but yeah.
But yeah, to be answer the question, probably. If you'd like to send us a question, you can do so by emailing us at questions@crateandcrowbar.com. You can also tweet us at crateandcrowbar, which is where we are on Twitter, isn't it? You can find us on YouTube at youtube.com/crateandcrowbar. And as ever, this podcast and its spin-offs are supported by our Patreon. You can find details about funding the pods at patreon.com/Crate and Crowbar, and we are very appreciative of everybody who currently does so. Thank you very much.
Yay, grateful.
Indeed. Very much both.
Step it up.
Both of the big fancy thanks words, but also thanks.
Cheers.
If you would like to follow us as individuals online on the internet, connect to me.
Connect to my internet presence.
At,
my ICQ is
twitter.com/CThurston. That's CTHURSTEN. Pip.
I am more likely to be on Instagram now, so you better like pictures of beetles. I am at Philippa War, which is PHILIPPAWARR.
Alex.
I am online on the Twitter.
How does someone
my homepage?
How does someone surf to your hyperspace?
Well,
cyberspace.
Hyperlinks. Hit the slash. And then it's ROTATIONAL. That's rotational.
Rotational.angelfire.com.
Yeah. No, GeoCities.
Yeah. I miss that internet.
Yeah, it was the best
Live journal.
Well, that's it, isn't it?
Yeah.
We talked about E3.
Happy E3, everyone.
That feels like a while ago.
Yeah, indeed. Catch you next year. Thanks for listening, everybody.